Chapter 171. He really didn't know how many terrifying scenes he had encountered. These secret rooms became more and more perverted the further he went. There were a total of 5 metal-type secret rooms. The first room had 3 times the gravity. The second room had 9 times the gravity. The third room had 27 times the gravity. The fourth room had 81 times the gravity. And the fifth room had 243 times the gravity. When Yang Dingtian practiced his sword in the illusory void in his mind, there were hundreds and thousands of times the gravity there. Yang Dingtian's body and spirit were completely destroyed, and his soul scattered. But that was in the illusory void after all. At this time in the secret realm, it was completely real. 81 times the gravity, 243 times the gravity. It was completely shocking to the extreme. It could be said that if one's cultivation was not enough, the moment he took a step, his blood vessels would burst and he would die. His entire body and bones would immediately collapse. Not to mention, Yang Dingtian was still holding a 300-kilogram youngling sword in his hand. In the last metal-type secret room, it was close to 100,000 kilograms. In the past, Yang Dingtian could not even hold a 100,000-kilogram sword, let alone wield it to fight. The highest boss of the metal-type secret room, the level 5 stopper, was a 6-armed golden Buddha. It was incomparably powerful and hard. Yang Dingtian was hit by this 6-armed Buddha more than a dozen times. Each trial was a narrow escape. His bones had been broken 7 times. He vomited blood countless times. Each time he almost died. Each time, he was saved by the green holy water pool. Finally, Yang Dingtian used the all-conquering sword to completely destroy this powerful 6-armed Buddha, proving that the all-conquering sword was indeed indestructible. In the fire-type secret room, the higher the temperature was, and the more perverted the boss was. In the 5th fire-type secret room, the entire secret room was filled with flowing magma. Every inch of air was at least 1,000 degrees Celsius. In this secret room, almost all of his celestial qi had to be used to protect his body from the flames. In less than 3 minutes after Yang Dingtian entered, just the defense alone exhausted all of his celestial qi. And the fire-type level 5 stopper was a strange and terrifying netherworld fire ghost. He was completely an energy body, so he didn't feel anything when he was stabbed or slashed. If he were to be hit by him, it would be a complete nightmare. His fire was the pure white spectral cold fire. Just a little bit of it would burn through his entire body. If Yang Dingtian did not have the deep sea Xian clothes, he would have died dozens of times already. In the end, Yang Dingtian could only frantically brandish the youngling sword in his hand to resist the devil's spectral cold fire. This was because the youngling sword was forged from bloody black gold. The demon's ghost cold fire could not harm it. After using his youngling sword to protect himself from being injured, Yang Dingtian chose to use the earth-sealing sword to lock onto the netherworld fire ghost. Then, he used the Hell Splitter sword 9 times before finally destroying this terrifying nether fire ghost. Let's talk about the training in the wind elemental chamber. In the 5th wind elemental chamber, every inch of air around him had become a deadly killer. Converted to Earth's scale, the wind in this secret room was close to force 20. On Earth, the strongest wind was generally only force 12. A force 30 gale could even break metal. Even a heavy object weighing more than 10,000 pounds could be easily blown into the air. In this way, after being injured 9 times, Yang Dingtian was able to drift with the wind without being injured by the wind. And the last obstacle in the wind elemental chamber was a blade succubus queen. The wind blades she shot out were faster than lightning and could cut through a meter-thick steel. Yang Dingtian's thigh was penetrated by her wind blades 3 times. His neck was once cut through from the middle, and his arm was once directly cut off. But every time, he was saved by the sacred water pond. In short, the 5th wind elemental chamber was Yang Dingtian's most tragic moment. Facing the blade succubus queen was Yang Dingtian's most tragic battle. In the end, Yang Dingtian was completely helpless and chose to rush to the succubus queen's side. He used the earth-sealing sword to temporarily imprison her. He used the burning sky sword to destroy the sharp blades all over her body. He used the invisible sword to destroy her heart. The three swords combined into one to completely kill this level 5 wind elemental assassin. Now, Yang Dingtian was in front of the last battle. In front of him was the 5th ice elemental chamber, which was also the last secret room in his trial. Because the thunder elemental chamber was a bug, he would never go there. Just as he opened the door, he was met with a deadly cold that almost reached the absolute zero on Earth. It was a cold that could destroy all life, a cold that was even colder than the sacred water pond. Inside, it was a vast expanse of white snow. Everywhere was a sea of snow. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath, and then took a step forward. He was about to face the last obstacle, a level 5 ice elemental assassin. Huff! The sword in Yang Dingtian's hand suddenly burned. At this temperature, even Yang Dingtian's 9 yang profound veins couldn't withstand it. He had to use his profound qi to ignite the fire to warm himself. A gust of wind blew, and a figure appeared in front of Yang Dingtian. This was an almost perfect woman. Her beautiful face was not inferior to Dongfang Bingling and Shimin Yinyan. The curves of her delicate body were as if carved by the heavens. She had a perfect face and a perfect figure. Every part of her body was perfect. Although Yang Dingtian knew that this was an energy body, it was condensed from ice energy. But she looked exactly the same as a real beauty. Her eyebrows were like distant mountains. Her skin was like ice and her bones were like jade. Water like gemstone eyes, long blue hair. Among all the assassins in the secret realm, the one in front of him was the most beautiful, and also the most gentle. She leisurely walked over, stretched out her jade arms, and wrapped them around Yang Dingtian's neck. Her delicate body pressed against Yang Dingtian's chest and said softly, "Brother, I'm so lonely here. Stay here with me, stay with me forever, okay?" Her voice was incomparably soft, incomparably pleasant to listen to. Yang Dingtian's body trembled, and suddenly felt a bone-piercing cold. Endless cold seeped out from her body, and drilled into Yang Dingtian's body, as if his blood and profound veins were about to be frozen in an instant. This was her attack, incomparably gentle, but incomparably bone-piercing gentleness. She hugged Yang Dingtian like this, and then froze him to death, completely freezing him into a sculpture. This way, the two of them would be together forever. Yang Dingtian used up all his profound qi, trying to break free. But he discovered that this perfect woman suddenly became as light as a feather, without any weight. Like a soul, she wrapped around his body, completely unable to break free. The cold energy that seemed to come from the depths of hell suddenly drilled into Yang Dingtian's body, slowly but resolutely destroying Yang Dingtian's flesh and blood. Yang Dingtian's profound veins. Burning heaven sword. Yang Dingtian's profound qi violently surged out, and suddenly turned into raging flames. All of Yang Dingtian's profound veins surged out, and all of his profound qi turned into raging flames. In an instant, Yang Dingtian and that woman's bodies were completely covered in raging flames. This woman was formed from ice and snow, so Yang Dingtian wanted to use flames to burn her and melt her. But under the raging flames, this bewitching ice and snow woman was still safe and sound. The endless cold continued to invade Yang Dingtian's profound veins, and even headed towards his qi sea. The profound qi in Yang Dingtian's body crazily surged out. His profound qi was being consumed at an unprecedented speed. But the raging flames formed by the burning heaven sword's profound qi became smaller and smaller. Earth-sealing sword. Yang Dingtian was hugged by her. Holding the sword with one hand, he used the earth-sealing sword. He wanted to imprison her for a short period of time, and then escape from her embrace. However, the earth-sealing sword was completely useless against her, because she could freeze everything. All-conquering sword. It was still useless. Her body was soft, but it was formed from extreme cold energy. The all-conquering sword didn't even leave a mark on her. Formless sword, even more useless. Hell-splitting sword, specialized in dealing with energy types. But it was still useless. Yang Dingtian had already tried all 5 moves of Yin Yang Heaven and Earth Sword, but they were all useless. Brother, don't waste your energy. Isn't it good to be with me forever? The Ice Beauty Slaughterer said gently. After saying that, her beautiful eyes suddenly turned blue, and a monstrous cold surged out. Instantly, the flames on Yang Dingtian's youngling sword shrunk rapidly. The bone-piercing cold energy quickly drilled into his qi, and Yang Dingtian's profound qi became smaller and smaller. The flames formed by the profound qi became smaller and smaller. Yang Dingtian's mind gradually fell into a daze. He was already unable to move. Most of his profound veins had already been frozen. Then his mind, his divine sense, and his soul were also gradually frozen. As long as the profound qi flames were extinguished, as long as the cold energy entered his qi, Yang Dingtian would die. The ice beauty in front of him, on the contrary, looked like the weakest boss. Her attack method was also the most gentle, but at the same time, she was also the most terrifying. Was he going to die just like that? 9 Yang profound veins originally had the advantage in the ice-type secret room. Previously, Yang Dingtian had destroyed so many vicious people who tried to stop him. The ice beauty in front of him was so gentle. Just by hugging him like that, she actually wanted to kill him. Yang Dingtian's divine sense became fainter and fainter. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared from his mind and was about to fall into an eternal sleep. And the cold energy had already reached his lower abdomen and was about to enter his qi. The profound qi flames were already less than half an inch. They gently swayed and were about to be extinguished in the blink of an eye. I can't die. I'm not willing to die like this. I still need to save Yin Yan. I still need to take back Cloud Heaven City. I still need to save Sister Ningning. I still need to seek justice from Dongfang Bingling. I can't die like this. From his mind, Yang Dingtian's last bit of willpower surged out. Using the last of his strength, Yang Dingtian's head directly smashed towards his youngling sword. The tip of the sword fiercely slashed across Yang Dingtian's head. Blood spurted out and splashed on the ice beauty's forehead. On her snow-white forehead, there was a drop of bright red blood. It was like a red plum, incomparably beautiful and delicate. Then, Yang Dingtian used his fingers as a sword, and used the last of his profound qi to use the burning heaven sword. He ignited the drop of 9 suns' blood on the ice beauty's forehead. Ah! The ice beauty screamed in horror, as if she had seen a ghost. Her beautiful eyes were instantly filled with incomparable fear. Then, the blood on her forehead suddenly burst into flames, burning a deep hole in her beautiful snow-white forehead. It was a pitch-black hole, and the terrifying flames continued to burn inside. Ah! The ice beauty issued a burst of mournful screams, and desperately wiped the blood on her forehead with her hand. Suddenly, the burning 9 suns' blood stuck to her hand, and then rubbed on her body. Ah! The ice beauty no longer cared about pestering Yang Dingtian. Her whole body was burning, and she issued a burst of mournful screams. In the 5th bright snow secret room, she frantically struggled and danced wildly. Finally, she was completely engulfed by the raging flames and thoroughly turned into ashes. Yang Dingtian looked at all this in astonishment. Of course, he also didn't expect that the final boss would be so difficult to deal with and so gentle. Of course, he also didn't expect that destroying the final boss of the ice secret room would be so simple. He only needed to use his own 9 suns' blood. But if he killed her from the beginning, then there wouldn't be the crazy intertwining of ice and fire, the crazy struggle. At this time, Yang Dingtian's profound veins seemed to have been thoroughly baptized. Dragging his scarred body, Yang Dingtian carried his youngling sword and walked step by step back to the center of the 5 elements main hall. He began the last profound breathing technique. Profound qi unceasingly poured into his body, poured into his profound veins, and poured into his qi. Like the warm sunlight, it gradually drove away the coldness in Yang Dingtian's body. Yang Dingtian's 4 limbs and his body gradually recovered their senses. 5 hours passed, 10 hours passed, 20 hours passed. The incomparably dense profound qi first drove away the cold energy in Yang Dingtian's body, then filled his profound veins and qi. His qi reached its limit and began to expand. A white light flashed, and Yang Dingtian's inner world entered a temporary state of nothingness. After a full half a minute, everything gradually returned to normal. Yang Dingtian's qi broke through again. But after experiencing countless breakthroughs and countless profound breathing techniques, Yang Dingtian fought countless battles. He already forgot about time, forgot about everything. He didn't even know how many breakthroughs he had. Therefore, he didn't even know what his current level was. When his profound qi filled his qi and profound veins again, Yang Dingtian slowly opened his eyes and asked the three-headed giant, "Giant, what level is my profound qi at now? Did I break through to 3-star Great Mystic Martial Master?" The three-headed giant opened its 3 giant eyes and said, "You are now a 5-star Great Mystic Martial Master." Ah! Yang Dingtian was pleasantly surprised. 5-star Great Mystic Martial Master? He actually broke through to 5-star Great Mystic Martial Master. Yang Dingtian instantly felt like crying. In this secret realm, he broke through 20 levels. This was an unprecedented breakthrough. Even in the beginning of the Yin-Yang 5 Elements Array, and the Yin-Yang Festival, that happened once every 300 years, he only broke through 19 levels. But now he actually broke through 20 levels. Becoming a Great Mystic Martial Master meant that one could be considered an expert in this world. Yang Dingtian officially stepped into the ranks of experts. He could learn mystic skills, he could learn the 3rd rank of the pig-slaying sword art, and his combat strength could increase by leaps and bounds. Just like Dugufengwu, he had truly soared to the heavens. The secret realm was indeed the most mysterious and powerful thing left behind by the ancient world. It actually allowed him to break through 20 levels. How much time has passed? Yang Dingtian asked as he recalled this extremely important matter. Chapter 172. 98 days have passed since you entered the 5 Elements Hall. The three-headed giant said. 98 days? That's good. Yang Dingtian let out a long sigh of relief. However, the three-headed giant had said that even for a Mystic Pulse practitioner, it would take at least half a year to reach the level of a 3-star Great Mystic Martial Master. Yang Dingtian had only spent 98 days to open 4 passages to the secret realm and break through to the level of a 5-star Great Mystic Martial Master. That meant that there were still 200 days left until the martial arts competition tomorrow. Following this, Yang Dingtian still had 2 opportunities to make a huge breakthrough. One was to learn the 3rd rank of the pig-slaying sword art. The other was to refine the Heaven and Earth Mystic Flame. Only a martial mystic rank expert could refine the Heaven and Earth Mystic Flame. Yang Dingtian was still 5 ranks away from the martial mystic rank expert. If he was lucky, he might have a big breakthrough after learning the 3rd rank of the pig-slaying sword art. That way, he would be 1 step closer to the martial mystic rank expert. Therefore, it was urgent for him to obtain the 3rd rank of the pig-slaying sword art. The 3rd rank of the pig-slaying sword art should still be in the Hidden Technique Pavilion in Cloud Heaven City, because the mysterious black-clothed man only gave Yinyan the 2nd rank of the pig-slaying sword art. What method could he use to let Yang Dingtian obtain the 3rd rank of the pig-slaying sword art from Cloud Heaven City? Suddenly, a crazy and dangerous method appeared in Yang Dingtian's mind. If it went smoothly, he might be able to enter Cloud Heaven City and obtain the 3rd rank of the pig-slaying sword art without any effort. Furthermore, he really wanted to know how Sister Ningning was doing. Did she fall into the hands of Shimanju and the others? At that moment, Yang Dingtian desperately wanted to return to Cloud Heaven City, and return to Cloud Heaven City with another identity. Can I leave now? Yang Dingtian asked. You can leave at any time. After the 6th door of the 4 Elements Chamber is the bottom of the sea. You can leave the secret realm through any door. The three-headed giant said. Then I'll take my leave. Three-eyed. Thank you for taking care of me. Yang Dingtian bowed deeply to the three-headed giant. Hold on. The three-headed giant said. According to the rules of the secret realm, as long as you can open a secret room of a certain element, you can obtain the mystic talisman of that element. You have broken through 4 secret rooms, so you can choose one of the ice, fire, wind, and gold profound talismans as your reward. Other Xian talismans? Yang Dingtian's heart skipped a beat. This was a legendary item, a true treasure. Yang Dingtian had only heard of it, but had never seen it before. Possessing the Xian talisman of another element was equivalent to possessing the attack attribute of this element. For example, if a fire attribute martial artist directly shot out an ice blade, how shocking would that be? Especially for Yang Dingtian, if he had the ice attribute Xian talisman. Then he would be able to do anything that an ice attribute martial artist could do. His heaven-sealing sword's power could increase exponentially. The most terrifying thing was that when Yang Dingtian fought with the enemy, he could even combine ice and fire to attack at the same time. At that time, his lethality would be multiplied. Therefore, this other type of talisman was a complete bug. Especially, this Xian talisman could be nurtured, and it could become stronger and stronger. When it was strong enough, its power would not be inferior to another martial spirit, and might even be more mysterious. Please choose a type of Xian talisman as your reward. The three-headed giant said. Of course it's the ice attribute. Yang Dingtian said. If there was a lightning attribute, of course he would choose the lightning attribute Xian talisman. Because the lightning attribute was 1 in 100 million, and was a true killing move. However, the lightning secret room was too abnormal, and it was completely impossible to pass. Therefore, among the other 4 elements, Yang Dingtian would definitely choose the ice attribute. The ice attribute was the complete opposite of Yang Dingtian's Yang Xian veins. When Yang Dingtian, a fire attribute martial artist, actually released an ice attribute attack, it could completely suppress everyone. And when the ice and fire attacked together, the power was simply incomparably shocking. Therefore, a wind attribute martial artist had to choose the metal attribute. A fire attribute martial artist had to choose the ice attribute. The three-headed giant opened his head and took out a piece of jade talisman from inside. It was dark blue and translucent, and light flowed, as if it was completely alive. Yang Dingtian opened his hand, and the giant placed the ice attribute Xian talisman in his palm. Suddenly a refreshing coolness. It was only cold, and did not feel very cold. However, this cold energy seemed to be alive and filled with boundless vitality. This Xian talisman also had another powerful use, and that was, it could absorb the damage of its own attribute. In other words, when the ice attribute Xian talisman encountered an ice attribute expert, it could help the owner share a portion of the ice energy attack. The stronger it was, the more ice energy it could devour. In theory, when it was strong to a certain level, Yang Dingtian could avoid all ice damage. Now this ice attribute Xian talisman was equivalent to an infant Xian talisman. It needed to constantly devour ice energy in order to grow and become stronger. Yang Dingtian held the ice attribute Xian talisman and carefully placed it in the spatial ring, afraid that his Yang Xian veins would harm it. After all, it was too fragile at this time. Thank you for your gift, big guy. Yang Dingtian said. Then I'll take my leave. The three-headed giant did not respond, but directly shrank back into its original statue appearance. Before turning back into a statue, the giant seemed to have thought of something and said, Trial taker, do you want to accept the additional hell-level trial mission? There will be more generous rewards. What trial mission? Where will it be held? What reward? Yang Dingtian asked. Get through the Thunder Attribute secret room. The giant said, Once completed, you will be rewarded with a Thunder Attribute Xian talisman and a Thunder Attribute Xian skill scroll. Yang Dingtian's heart was beating wildly. God, these 2 rewards, no matter which one it was, were enough to make the whole world go crazy. Needless to say, the Thunder Attribute Xian talisman could make all of Yang Dingtian's attacks carry Thunder Attribute damage. Thunder Attribute attacks were completely a bug. It could not be blocked or defended at all. Therefore, in this world, if someone used Thunder Attribute martial arts or Xian skill, even if his Xian Qi level was low, people would be terrified and would not dare to provoke him, because this meant that this person had a huge mysterious background. In the whole world, there were only a handful of people who had Thunder attributes. In the past 100 years, there was only one strong person from the Sea of Hades who used Thunder attribute Xian skills. Even further back, there were people from the Hidden Sect and the Temple of Annihilation who had Thunder attribute Xian skills. Although Thunder attribute martial soul was 1 in a billion, 1 or 2 could occasionally be seen in the past few decades. As for lightning-type mystic skills and martial skill attacks, he had almost never seen them before. Because Thunder attribute secret books were extremely rare, and even if one got it, it was useless. Almost no one could learn it, because the Xian Qi in one's body did not have the thunder attribute. But with thunder attribute Qian talisman, it was completely different. With the thunder attribute Qian talisman, anyone could use thunder attribute Qian skills. Of course, compared to the ice attribute Qian talisman, it was much harder to nurture the thunder attribute Qian talisman. However, there was a type of discharge crystal that was born with electricity and could be used to nurture the thunder attribute Qian talisman. Although the price was very high, these were really two extremely tempting rewards. And if Yang Dingtian had the thunder attribute Qian talisman, he could combine ice, fire and thunder attributes to attack, and the power would be even more astonishing. But Yang Dingtian still shook his head and said, "Forget it, I give up this mission, because the thunder attribute secret room is too abnormal, and I don't have time. There is only one chance for this trial mission, and the whole process is very short, only half a quarter of an hour. The winner will leave the secret realm directly after obtaining the 2 prizes at the end of the secret room. The loser will die in the secret room." The three-headed giant said, "Half a quarter of an hour? Only 7 or 8 minutes to pass through 5 thunder attribute secret rooms. This was too fast." Yang Dingtian took a deep breath, shook his head and said, "Forget it, I'll give up. Although the reward is incomparably tempting, I still give up. The thunder attribute secret room is too abnormal. With my current strength, I really can't pass it. Hell's trial mission is not about Qian Qi level, but about wisdom." The three-headed giant said, "Those who have wisdom, even if they are enlighteners, can pass through 5 thunder attribute secret rooms. Those who lack wisdom, even if they are master-level powerhouses, will have their souls scattered." Yang Dingtian still shook his head and said, "Forget it, I don't have absolute confidence in my wisdom." "Then goodbye," the three-headed giant said, and then turned back into a statue. Yang Dingtian walked towards the metal attribute room. He chose the 6th door of the metal attribute secret room to leave the secret realm. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian seemed to have thought of something and asked, "Big guy, is the thunder attribute secret room's hell trial useful to a sleeping soul in my mind? I want to wake him up." The three-headed giant opened his eyes, did not immediately answer, as if he was searching his memory. "Yes, it is very useful," the three-headed giant said. "The energy of the thunder attribute has an incomparable effect on awakening all sleeping souls." Yang Dingtian's heart skipped a beat. Did that mean that in the thunder attribute secret room's hell trial, Yang Dingtian could awaken his master's soul in the depths of his mind? It had been a few months, but his master's soul still had not awakened. Not to mention that Yang Dingtian missed his master very much. Just looking for the heaven and earth mystic flame, he could not leave his master. Yang Dingtian could not even understand the words on the scroll that Ning Roer gave him, which might be the map of the mystic flame. His master should be able to understand it, since he was traveling the world. Of course, even without all this, Yang Dingtian still hoped that his master, Dongfang Minmi, could wake up, even if it was just to talk to Yang Dingtian every day. However, Yang Dingtian had already seen how crazy the thunder attribute secret room was. Entering was really a narrow escape. It was fast, it would end in at most 7 minutes. If he succeeded, his master might wake up, obtain the thunder attribute talisman and thunder attribute mystic skill, then leave the secret realm, and head to Cloud Heaven City to obtain the 3rd stage of the pig-slaying swordsmanship. If he failed, he would die in the thunder attribute secret room. The three-headed giant had already said that this hell-level trial mission relied on wisdom and not mystic qi. Chapter 173. Yang Dingtian held the youngling sword in his hand. His mind suddenly flashed, and he suddenly had an idea. Maybe I know how to pass through these 5 lightning chambers, and how to complete this hell-level trial. Yang Dingtian's heartbeat suddenly sped up. "Big guy, I accept the hell-level trial mission." Yang Dingtian said. "Are you sure?" the three-headed giant asked. "I'm sure," Yang Dingtian said. "The hell-level special trial mission begins. Please complete the trial mission in half a quarter of an hour, and pass through the 5 lightning chambers," the three-headed giant said. Suddenly, the entire 5 elements hall suddenly lit up. Then, the other 4 doors were all extinguished and became dark. Obviously, The other 4 doors were all closed, and only the lightning door suddenly lit up. Please set off immediately. After half a quarter of an hour, we will erase all the extra traces in the secret realm. The 3-headed giant warned. Yang Dingtian was shocked. In other words, if Yang Dingtian regretted it now, even if he stood still, the 5 elements hall secret realm would directly erase him after 7 minutes. Moreover, the doors of the other 4 doors were all closed. If Yang Dingtian wanted to leave the secret realm, he must go through the lightning chamber. At this time there was no other choice. Yang Dingtian held the youngling sword, walked to the door of the lightning chamber, and pushed open the door. Inside it was as black as hell, and as dangerous as hell. If he wanted to pass, he could only rely on wisdom, and not profound qi. 7 minutes, only 7 minutes. If he succeeded, his master would wake up and leave with an incomparably rich reward. If he failed, he would directly die inside, and completely turn into ashes. Let's do it. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath, and took a step towards the hell-like darkness of the Thunder Attribute secret room. He walked into the secret room. At the same time, the lightning door behind him suddenly extinguished and closed, and he could only move forward, not backward. After entering, Yang Dingtian quickly took out the original Night Owl giant sword from the space ring, and then quickly tied it together with the youngling sword. Suddenly, the 2 swords added up to a height of more than 3 meters. Kacha! Yang Dingtian used all his strength to forcefully insert the 2 bound swords into the ground. Then, he quickly changed into a pair of insulated shoes and insulated gloves. After doing all this, he held his breath and waited for the arrival of the destructive lightning. The 3-headed giant said that this hell trial mission relied on intelligence and not profound qi. On Earth, in a spacious environment, lightning usually struck higher conductors. Therefore, Yang Dingtian trapped the Acho greatsword and the Night Owl greatsword together for more than 3 meters, and then inserted them into the ground to guide the lightning energy underground. Yang Dingtian's height was about 180 centimeters, which was far less than 3 meters, and he was wearing insulated shoes. According to the principles of Earth, lightning could not strike him. But without a doubt, this was not Earth. This was the primal chaos continent. The laws of science on Earth might not necessarily be realized here. So Yang Dingtian was risking his life. Inside the secret room, it was still completely dark and silent. Only Yang Dingtian's heartbeat could be clearly heard. That destructive lightning seemed to be tormenting Yang Dingtian at this time, and did not come. Yang Dingtian stood there like a prisoner waiting to be sentenced. His heartbeat was getting faster and faster, as if it was about to jump out of his chest. That kind of suffocating feeling, as if every breath would be a burning pain. If the lightning god did not play according to the rules, then Yang Dingtian's ending would only be one, and that was to be completely annihilated. Kacha! Suddenly, there was a loud noise in the secret room. An incomparably huge lightning struck down, as if to tear the sky and earth, as if to topple the mountains and overturn the seas, as if to turn the sky and earth upside down. Like the aurora after the explosion of a nuclear bomb, it instantly made Yang Dingtian's eyes lose their vision. This lightning bolt was several times stronger than the lightning bolt that Yang Dingtian encountered when he first entered the Thunder Attribute secret room. If Yang Dingtian was struck by it, there would only be one outcome. He would turn into a pile of dust, and even the 9 young mystic meridians would be useless. Pa 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 pa. The destructive lightning bolts came one after another, as if there was no end to them. Fortunately, it was the same as what Yang Dingtian expected. All the lightning struck the 2 swords, Acho Youngling's sword and Night Owl greatsword. After being struck by the huge lightning, became completely transparent, flowing with light and overflowing with colors, incomparably gorgeous. And Yang Dingtian stood behind, safe and sound. Not a single trace of lightning struck his body. At this time, Yang Dingtian could not see anything at all, because the entire secret room was only extremely bright, extremely white. The lightning struck for half a minute without any intention of stopping, and the entire mission only had 7 minutes. Yang Dingtian decided not to wait for the lightning to stop. He must continue to move forward, because he could not see anything at this time. Yang Dingtian stretched out his hand and carefully walked forward to grab a Cho Youngling's sword. This required a huge amount of courage, because the sword was currently filled with astonishing electric current. It was an almost invincible electric current. Although Yang Dingtian was wearing insulating gloves, but this was not a completely insulated object. As long as a little electric current entered Yang Dingtian's body, then he would definitely die. Taking a deep breath, Yang Dingtian calmed down his violent heartbeat. After taking a few steps forward, Yang Dingtian stretched out his hand and grabbed Ah Chao's greatsword. Pa! Yang Dingtian's body suddenly trembled, because Ah Chao's greatsword was trembling with all its might, cheering. That's right, Yang Dingtian could feel that Ah Chao was cheering, as if these countless frightening lightnings struck its body, making it very, very comfortable, making it itch to the point that its whole body trembled. Moreover, there was still not a trace of electric current flowing to Yang Dingtian's body, because all the electric current was transmitted to the ground. Really a little abnormal, Yang Dingtian said in his heart. Next, he used all his strength to push the two swords forward, because he must not let the two swords leave the ground, otherwise the electric current will be transmitted to Yang Dingtian's body. He must maintain the smoothness of the electric current flowing along the swords to the ground. In this way, Yang Dingtian pushed the two swords, drawing a deep crack on the ground, and kept walking forward. Walking in front of the second door, he stretched out his hand and pushed it, entering the second lightning door. Pa pa pa. Even more frightening lightning. It was as if a wall was striking down. Pa pa. Immediately after, there were two lightning bolts. However, it still did not pose any threat to Yang Dingtian, because all the lightning was still draped over the two swords. It's just that the momentum is too scary. It's like the end of the world. In this way, Yang Dingtian pushed the two swords and passed through the second secret room, the third secret room, the fourth secret room, and the fifth secret room. 3 minutes later, Yang Dingtian came to the sixth lightning door. He had completed the so-called Hell Mode trial mission, and he had done it in less than half of the 7 minutes he was given. As for the lightning in the secret room behind, Yang Dingtian didn't see it at all, because he simply closed his eyes directly, and his ears couldn't hear it at all, because it was completely deafening, causing his hearing to temporarily lose its function. After clearing the level, Yang Dingtian only had a very strange feeling, a little absurd, and a little lost. The previous trial completely tortured Yang Dingtian to death, leaving him with scars all over his body. He didn't know how many times he was on the verge of death, and how many times he was on the verge of death. And this lightning secret room was completely a super bug. It was completely a heaven-defying existence. But who would have thought that the so-called Hell Mode trial mission would be passed so easily? Not a single strand of hair was harmed, and it didn't even take much effort. Therefore, this Hell-level trial mission can really only be described as abnormal. Those who don't know, even if they're Grandmaster-level powerhouses, I'm afraid there's only one result, and that is to turn into ashes. And those who know, even if they're just an initiate, can pass smoothly. Just as Yang Dingtian's hand was about to touch the sixth door, everything suddenly stopped. The endless flashes of lightning stopped, and the deafening sound stopped as well. Inside the secret room, light was restored. Yang Dingtian felt as though he was standing in the blue sky. Furthermore, it was a sky that had been washed by water. It was azure and pure without any impurities. It made one feel relaxed and happy. The trial should be over. Yang Dingtian immediately called out to his master Dongfang Minmi's soul in his mind, looking forward to hearing his master's voice again. However, the result disappointed him. His master still didn't have any response. Yang Dingtian's originally joyful heart gradually cooled down. Could it be because he wasn't struck by lightning, so he couldn't stimulate his master's soul to awaken? Trial taker, you have passed all the trial missions, the reward is on the door. Please leave immediately. We are about to clear all the external traces in the secret realm. Please leave immediately. Yang Dingtian was sad. Suddenly the three-headed giant's voice sounded in his ear. Although 5 secret rooms were separated, the three-headed giant's voice still sounded in his ear. Yang Dingtian looked at the door, and found that there were 2 things floating on it. One of them was a thunder attribute mystic talisman, which was a transparent jade token. When Yang Dingtian took it off, a weak electric current flashed across, and a very tiny lightning appeared in the jade token, which looked very scary. At this time, this talisman was still in its infancy. It looked fragile and cute, but when it grew to a certain extent, it would shock the whole world. So when Yang Dingtian held it in his hand, his heartbeat suddenly sped up, and he instantly had a feeling of being unable to breathe. This was a lightning talisman. In the whole world, there probably wouldn't be more than 5 of them, or even less. When it grew to a certain extent, it would completely become a bug-like existence. Placing the lightning talisman on his lips and kissing it, his lips suddenly became slightly numb. It was very ticklish. Like the youngling sword, this talisman also seemed to have a life of its own. When Yang Dingtian kissed it, it even released electricity to show him who was the boss, just like a baby waving its pink little fist. He carefully put the lightning talisman in his spatial ring. It was really too fragile right now. Next, it was this lightning scroll. This was a lightning talisman mystic skill. Yang Dingtian was now a 5-star great mystic martial master. It was time for him to learn mystic skills. Originally, he was still looking forward to his first mystic skill secret manual. Because he was currently wandering, he couldn't obtain a powerful and mysterious mystic skill secret manual. There were many powerful mystic skill secret manuals in Cloud Heaven City's Hidden Technique Pavilion. But now, they didn't belong to Yang Dingtian. But he didn't expect that the first mystic skill secret manual Yang Dingtian obtained would be such a heaven-defying lightning talisman mystic skill. In this world, people who possessed lightning talisman mystic skills were probably rarer than lightning talisman beasts. No matter where, as long as a lightning talisman mystic skill was used, no matter how powerful it was enough to shock everyone. Yang Dingtian held the mystic skill scroll. He was instantly tempted. He wanted to immediately inject his mystic chi to learn it. But he quickly gave up on this tempting idea, because the secret realm was about to be cleared, to remove all traces left behind by outsiders. If he were to be swept away by the secret realm while he was learning, then he would completely disappear from this world. There would be no reason to talk to the secret realm. Placing the lightning talisman mystic skill secret manual in his bosom, Yang Dingtian pushed open the door in front of him. Outside was the bottom of the sea. The dark blue seawater rippled. Countless underwater creatures saw the light here and swam over curiously. This was the real deep sea. It was at least tens of thousands of meters deep. There might not be such a deep sea on Earth. After staying here for more than 100 days, he was finally going to leave. Chapter 174. After cultivating here for more than 100 days, and breaking through 20 levels, he was finally going to leave. Yang Dingtian actually had a desire to shout out loud, but he held it in. Now was not the time to shout out loud. Putting the Night Owl Greatsword and a Cho Youngling sword into the spatial ring, Yang Dingtian held his breath and walked out directly. Other than the reward, the trial taker is not allowed to take anything from the secret realm. Otherwise, you will be killed immediately. Suddenly, the 3-headed giant's voice rang in Yang Dingtian's ears. The trial taker's entire body, from the inside out, will be thoroughly checked. The 3-headed giant continued. Yang Dingtian's heart immediately jumped wildly. He had brought something out. It was the holy water on the 3-headed giant's chest. When he was heavily injured, he put it into the spatial ring several times, filling up a few kilograms, because he wanted to heal Yinyan's damaged profound veins. Previously, the 3-headed giant did not seem to notice anything, but now he actually wanted to check. If it was stored in the spatial ring, would it be found out? If it was found out, then it would really be over. He would definitely be killed without any discussion. But now he had no other choice. He could not confess to the 3-headed giant and hand over the holy water, right? Since Yang Dingtian had already done so, then no matter what the consequences were, he would accept it. A ray of light suddenly shot onto Yang Dingtian's body, then passed through his entire body inch by inch, from top to bottom, from inside to outside. Finally, that ray of green light stopped on Yang Dingtian's finger, where the spatial ring was. Instantly, Yang Dingtian almost suffocated. After a full 3 minutes, that ray of light finally left the position of Yang Dingtian's finger. During this time, Yang Dingtian's heart was really about to jump out. There are no traces of the secret realm inside or outside your body, but there are abnormal energy waves. Profound energy is unable to identify them. There is no limit to what you can do. The trial taker can leave. The three-headed giant's voice rang in his ears. Immediately, Yang Dingtian heaved a long sigh of relief and rushed out of the 6th door, entering the icy cold sea and leaving the 5 elements secret realm. Wah! So uncomfortable. The moment he stepped out of the door, Yang Dingtian instantly felt an incomparably huge pressure. It was as if his internal organs were about to be squeezed out, his bones were about to break, and all his blood vessels were about to shatter. They were at the bottom of the sea, tens of thousands of meters deep. The pressure of the seawater was astonishing. Yang Dingtian was already mentally prepared, but he still did not expect the pressure to be so terrifying. Circulating all the profound qi in his body, Yang Dingtian covered his entire body from top to bottom to resist the strong pressure. Yang Dingtian quickly floated up. This tens of thousands of meters deep sea was simply too terrifying. Staying here for even a second was incomparably painful. At the same time, the door to the 5 elements mystery realm closed, and the seabed became incomparably dark. The entire 5 elements hall was like a huge mountain lying at the bottom of the sea. Splash! Yang Dingtian suddenly rushed out of the sea. After a full 10 minutes, Yang Dingtian floated up from the bottom of the sea to the surface of the sea. Even though he was completely capable of not breathing for more than half an hour, he still took deep breaths and enjoyed the beauty of the air. Not far ahead was the northern beach of the West Arrival Island, and further ahead was a dense forest. Yang Dingtian swam to the beach and came to the dense forest. First, he picked a dozen edible wild fruits and ate heartily. In the past 3 months in the secret realm, Yang Dingtian relied on eating medicinal pills to maintain his vitality. Although it was better for his body, Yang Dingtian still missed normal food. Unfortunately, there was no wine or meat on the island. Otherwise it would be even better. After eating a dozen fruits, he immediately walked to the east of the West Arrival Island. This was because his boat was hidden on the eastern beach of the West Arrival Island. In less than half an hour, Yang Dingtian had already arrived at the eastern beach. When he came, he hid the boat behind a huge rock and buried it with sand. But now, Yang Dingtian only saw a pile of wood fragments. The boat that Yang Dingtian hid here was smashed into pieces by someone. It was definitely not a strong wind or a wave. It was done by a human, because the entire boat had been turned into powder-like fragments. It was an extremely powerful expert who smashed the boat into fine powder with a single palm. There was no one else on this island, and who could do this? It was undoubtedly the demonic woman Dugufengwu. Yang Dingtian was so angry that his hair stood on end. This ruthless and heartless demonic woman even wanted to kill Yang Dingtian in the secret realm. Moreover, she wanted to kill him after raping him. Now, she actually destroyed Yang Dingtian's boat. This place was 1 to 2,000 miles away from land. Without a boat, how was Yang Dingtian going to leave? He couldn't possibly swim over. An absolute expert like Dugufengwu might be able to use mystic qi to cross 2,000 miles of sea, but it would cause great damage to her body. Therefore, without a boat, Yang Dingtian wouldn't be able to leave. However, this place was only 2,000 miles away from land, and there would be boats passing by every once in a while. It was just that his journey to Cloud Heaven City would be delayed for a few days. But it was useless to be anxious now. He could only pray that there would be a boat passing by soon. Moreover, Yang Dingtian had a Thunder Mystic Skill scroll in his hands, and he could make use of this time to learn it. However, he wouldn't learn the Thunder Mystic Skill today. He needed to have a good sleep. After all, Yang Dingtian didn't have much time to sleep for the past 3 months. He was either fighting with the assassins in the secret room, dying in the center of the main hall while absorbing mystic qi, or recuperating in the sacred pond in the chest of the three-headed giant. This time, Yang Dingtian wanted to have a good sleep. He found a big tree and built a bed on it. He then laid down comfortably on it and fell asleep in a short while. Of course, Even if he was sleeping, Yang Dingtian would still be able to wake up immediately if there was any danger. However, West Arrival Island was too quiet. Other than the sound of the waves, there was nothing else. There wasn't even a wild beast. Therefore, Yang Dingtian had the best sleep ever since he came to Primal Chaos Continent. When he woke up the next day, Yang Dingtian found a pool to take a bath and changed into clean clothes. Finally, he found an empty space under a tree and took out the Thunder Mystic Skill Scroll. Looking at this Thunder Mystic Skill Scroll, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but become nervous. This was truly a 1 in a billion Mystic Skill Scroll, and it was the highest reward in the 5 Elements Hall Secret Realm. Duke of Fengwu was the princess of evil ways, but she didn't have any Thunder Mystic skills. If this scroll of Yang Dingtian's was made public, it would immediately cause a commotion in the world. If it appeared in any auction house, there would be countless sects that would go crazy for it and give it everything they had. Mystic skill scrolls were different from martial skill scrolls. A martial skill scroll could allow countless people to learn it. Of course, Yang Dingtian's pig-slaying sword art was an exception. A mystic skill scroll could only allow one person to learn it. After one person learned it, the second person wouldn't be able to use it even if they obtained it. All of the profound skill secret manuals were left behind from the ancient times. Even though new profound skill secret manuals had been unearthed for the past 1,000 years, the number of profound skill secret manuals that had been unearthed a few hundred years ago had dwindled. Therefore, it could be said that every mystic skill scroll that was learned was one less scroll. Every mystic skill scroll was extremely precious, not to mention this Thunder Mystic Skill Scroll. Sitting on the empty space, Yang Dingtian slowly closed his eyes and held the Thunder Mystic Skill Scroll with both his hands. It was the same as martial skill scrolls. If he wanted to learn a mystic skill scroll, he just had to input his mystic chi into the scroll. Therefore, Yang Dingtian only needed to input his mystic chi, and he would be able to enter the world of the scroll. However, he didn't know if he could learn it because he didn't know if he had the thunder attribute talent in his body. A person's mystic veins were divided into yin and yang. When a great mystic martial master wanted to learn a mystic skill, it would give birth to ice, fire, metal, wind, and lightning. Ice attribute was the established talent of the yin profound veins. Fire attribute was the established talent of the yang profound veins. This was something that couldn't be changed. Then, a portion of the yang profound veins would have the metal attribute talent, and a portion of the yin profound veins would have the wind attribute talent. However, the thunder attribute talent wasn't divided into yin and yang. No matter if it was the yang profound veins or the yin profound veins, it could give birth to the thunder attribute talent. However, this kind of person was less than 1 in 10 million. Yang Dingtian had the 9 yang profound veins, but the probability of him having the thunder attribute talent was too low. Yang Dingtian didn't dare to have the extravagant hope that he had the thunder attribute talent. Now that he had the thunder attribute talisman, even if he didn't have the thunder attribute talent, he could still use the thunder attribute talisman in the future. However, the growth of the thunder attribute talisman required a very long time. Moreover, the power of the talisman's attack was not as strong as his own thunder attribute talent. Moreover, if Yang Dingtian had the thunder attribute talent and used the thunder attribute talisman, the effect of the attack could be stacked, and the lethality would definitely be unparalleled. Yang Dingtian slowly closed his eyes and thought, if I could have the thunder attribute talent, then it would be a blessing from the heavens. If I don't have it, then it doesn't matter. Yang Dingtian took a dozen deep breaths before he could barely suppress his nervous and excited emotions. After all, this was the first profound skill he learned. After his emotions calmed down and his heartbeat returned to normal, Yang Dingtian slowly inserted a strand of mystic chi into the thunder attribute profound skill scroll. Immediately, the thunder attribute profound skill scroll lit up and emitted a faint blue light. Then, an incomparably complicated mystic chi path appeared on the scroll bit by bit. Yang Dingtian's mystic chi followed this path and continuously spread forward. The mystic chi advanced inch by inch. This scroll looked to be only 3 feet long, But the mystic chi scroll inside was tens of thousands of meters long. Layer upon layer, winding and graceful. It was completely the world's most complicated and meticulous path, somewhat similar to the integrated circuits of the Earth era. All the mystic chi in Yang Dingtian's chi si had to go through the path on the scroll. After being transformed by the scroll, it would return to his body with the special memories in the scroll. Time passed by minute by minute. Yang Dingtian's mystic chi was injected into the scroll bit by bit. Chapter 175. Time trickled by, and Yang Dingtian's profound energy was injected into the secret scroll bit by bit. 10% progress, 20%, 30%. After a full 5 hours, Yang Dingtian's profound energy finally completed all the profound energy routes on the secret scroll. Swoosh. Then, all the profound energy returned to Yang Dingtian's body. Boom! A blue flame suddenly rose from the secret scroll, and then the entire secret scroll turned into ashes. Clap, clap, clap. Yang Dingtian's mind suddenly lit up with a few bolts of lightning, and then he instantly entered the world of thunder attribute profound skills. Devil Sky Split. This thunder attribute profound skill was called Devil Sky Split, and it was divided into 6 levels. First level Mountain Split. Second level River Split. Third level Earth Split. Fourth level Ocean Split. Fifth level Heaven Split. The 6th level was Devil Sky Split, and it was also the highest level of this thunder attribute profound skill. Obviously, its power was also extremely tyrannical. At this moment, Yang Dingtian had only spent 5 hours learning the first level, Mountain Split. Clap, 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 clap. In the completely dark world, Yang Dingtian's consciousness stood between heaven and earth. Countless bolts of lightning struck down, and an incomparably powerful electric current drilled into his body. Of course, this was all an illusion. In reality, the profound energy returned from the secret scroll to his body, and started to transform Yang Dingtian's profound veins and body. If Yang Dingtian's profound veins had thunder attribute innate talent, then it would be activated by this profound energy. Of course, if Yang Dingtian didn't have thunder attribute innate talent, then it would all be a waste of effort. Clap, clap, clap. Countless bolts of lightning became thicker and thicker, and crazily struck Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian's profound veins swelled inch by inch, changed color, and then returned to normal inch by inch. This process was extremely painful, and also extremely dangerous. If the profound veins' innate talent was not enough, then it was very possible that the profound veins would directly explode, and the entire person would explode and die. So for martial artists with low innate talent, even if they obtained a high-grade profound skill scroll, it would be useless. Not only would they not be able to learn it, they would even lose their lives. After another 5 hours, Yang Dingtian's body gradually returned to normal. Only then did that terrifying blue color gradually fade away. Yang Dingtian slowly opened his eyes. At this moment, his surroundings were already dark. The sky was already dark. Learning this thunder attribute profound skill actually took an entire day. Whether or not he had lightning talent would depend on this moment. Yang Dingtian stared at the small tree in front of him. Yang Dingtian started to condense all the profound energy in his body, and started to prepare the lightning attribute profound skill, Mountain Split. If he had lightning talent, he would be able to strike down a bolt of lightning. The higher one's lightning talent was, the stronger the lightning would be, and the more powerful it would be. If he didn't have lightning talent, then of course he wouldn't have any reaction. Yang Dingtian kept brewing. Profound skills and martial skills were different. Martial skills could be released in an instant, but profound skills required a large amount of profound chi, which required time. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Finally, Yang Dingtian's profound chi, which was sufficient to release the lightning attribute profound skill, Mountain Split, once, circulated rapidly in his entire body's profound veins. Yang Dingtian could release it at any time. Whether or not he had lightning talent would depend on this moment. Mountain Split. Yang Dingtian fiercely roared. The profound chi energy that he had been brewing for 15 seconds suddenly exploded out. There wasn't much suspense left. A bolt of lightning instantly shot out from Yang Dingtian's palm. Bang! The small tree in front of him was directly split into two halves and turned into a pile of charcoal, which was currently burning fiercely. Ah! Yang Dingtian instantly let out a cry of ecstasy as he looked at his hands in disbelief. I really have a lightning talent. I actually have a lightning talent. A lightning talent that is 1 in a million, 1 in 10 million. Furthermore, the first time he used a lightning attribute profound skill, he was able to directly destroy a small tree that was as thick as a bowl. It could be seen that his lightning attribute talent was extremely high. The heavens really favored him too much. Yang Dingtian really looked at the small tree in front of him in disbelief. Lightning attribute profound skill. This world's most precious profound skill. The most difficult profound skill to guard against. For the other 4 attribute profound skills, ice and fire countered each other, wind and metal countered each other. But for lightning attribute profound skills, there was completely no counter to them. After his ecstasy, Yang Dingtian realized that his profound chi had actually been completely depleted. This was too shocking. The profound chi in his entire body was actually only enough to release mountain split. The profound chi in his entire body was actually only enough to split a small tree. This was obviously a huge waste of profound chi. Obviously, this was only the first level mountain split, which was why there was such a huge waste of profound chi. So Yang Dingtian still had to continue comprehending and grasp the higher level mountain split. This way, the power would be greater, and the profound chi consumed would be lesser. But how should he comprehend it? He couldn't possibly release mountain split again and again, right? Yang Dingtian's profound chi wasn't enough for such a waste. But no matter what, he still had to first absorb profound chi and replenish the profound chi in his chi si. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if he met with any enemies. Instantly, Yang Dingtian sat by the side of the pool and started to absorb profound chi. Of course, the profound chi that Yang Dingtian was absorbing now was for battle and didn't need to be completely refined. So he only needed 1 day and 1 night to fill his entire chi si and profound meridians. But this kind of profound chi that was filled with impurities could only be used for battle and couldn't be used to break through chi si. In order to break through chi si, one had to completely refine and purify profound chi. The reason why 5 Elements Hall was so powerful was because the profound chi there was dense and pure. There was no need to refine it, and it could be used to break through chi si. Moreover, if the profound chi that was filled with impurities stayed in the body for a long time, it would cause the profound meridians to accumulate. Then, the speed of profound chi breakthrough would become slower and slower, until it completely stopped. One would need to undergo marrow and meridians cleansing to make the profound meridians unobstructed again. Of course, Master Dongfang Minmi had already cleansed Yang Dingtian's marrow and meridians to the 3rd level in this world of ice and snow. Calculating the time, Yang Dingtian also needed to undergo a new round of marrow and meridians cleansing. Otherwise, it might become difficult for Yang Dingtian to break through to the martial profound realm. Yang Dingtian gradually sank into the world of profound chi absorption. His entire body and mind sunk into complete silence. Child. Suddenly, an incomparably familiar and long-lost voice sounded in Yang Dingtian's mind. Immediately, Yang Dingtian's body trembled, and he immediately opened his eyes. He didn't dare to believe that he heard this voice. Then, he immediately gathered all of his attention, afraid that the call he heard just now was an illusion. Master, is that you? Yang Dingtian asked with a trembling voice. It's me, Dongfang Minmi said. It's been hard on you during this period of time. Immediately, Yang Dingtian's eyes became hot and tears almost gushed out. He finally heard his master Dongfang Minmi's voice again. It had already been 8 months. Last time, in order to control that brutal sword spirit, my soul was almost scattered. I spent a very long time gradually gathering my shattered consciousness bit by bit. However, due to my exhaustion, I directly fell into a deep sleep. Today, after you learned the Thunder Profound skill, it stimulated me to wake up, Dongfang Minmi said. What exactly happened during the period of time I was asleep? You actually learned the Thunder Profound skill. Then, Dongfang Minmi's voice also became somewhat trembling as he said, "You're actually already a 5-star great profound martial master. How long have I been asleep?" "Almost 8 months, master," Yang Dingtian said. "In 8 months, you broke through 20 levels and became a 5-star great profound martial master?" Dongfang Minmi said in disbelief. "How did you do it?" Yang Dingtian. "After I finished forging the youngling sword in the Fire Cloud Devil Cave, I fell from the top quality earth fire disc and discovered a 5 elements hall secret realm. In there, I went from a 5-star profound martial master to a 5-star great profound martial master in 98 days. Furthermore, after passing its hell level trial, I obtained a Thunder Profound Talisman and this Thunder Profound Skill Scroll." Thunder Profound Skill. The first profound skill you learned was actually the 1 in a billion Thunder Profound skill. Dongfang Minmi said, "Child, now I really suspect that you were sent by the heavens. Otherwise, for you to be so lucky, even your master can't help but be a little jealous." After joking around, Dongfang Minmi said, "Child, tell me everything that happened during the few months I was asleep." "Yes, Yang Dingtian. During the trial by duel in Cloud Heaven City, after I defeated Qin Xiaobai, I was forced by Shimanju to once again use the brutal sword spirit in the Night Owl Greatsword. It almost caused Master's soul to scatter, and you fell into a deep sleep. And I almost died from the backlash of the sword spirit. It was Yen Yen who went through untold hardships to bring me to the Netherworld Sea." Following that, Yang Dingtian told Dongfang Minmi everything that happened in the past 8 months. After talking for half an hour, Yang Dingtian finally finished telling him everything. "Child, it's really been hard on you. Yin Yin is a good child, much better than Dongfang Bingling. She's the most suitable wife for you." Dongfang Minmi said, "Master will accompany you through the following difficulties." "Good." Yang Dingtian's heart was suddenly filled with excitement. "Child, what do you plan to do next?" Dongfang Minmi asked. Yang Dingtian, "My ship was destroyed by the demonic woman Dugafengwu, so I will wait for a ship to pass by and bring me to the northwest continent. Then, I will think of a way to go to Cloud Heaven City to obtain the 3rd rank of the pig-slaying sword art. I will strive to break through to the martial mystic realm within a month. Then, I will look for the heaven and earth mystic flame. There are still 8 months before the martial arts contest in Cloud Heaven City. Shimanju will be my greatest opponent. I have to at least break through to the advanced martial ancestor realm before I can fight with him. Learning the 3rd rank of the pig-slaying sword art and refining the heaven and earth mystic flame are my 2 greatest chances to break through." "Child, how do you plan to go to Cloud Heaven City to obtain the 3rd rank of the pig-slaying sword art?" Dongfang Minmi asked. Yang Dingtian went silent for a moment and said, "I plan to go to Cloud Heaven City as a hidden sect disciple, nameless, and directly ask for the 3rd rank of the pig-slaying sword art. Also, I don't know if Sister Ningning fell into the hands of Yang Yen and the others. I want to see what happened to her." Chapter 176. After Dongfang Minmi finished listening, his voice started to tremble. "Child, what you're doing is very, very crazy, and it might bring about terrible consequences," Dongfang Minmi said. "Impersonating a hidden sect disciple is perhaps the biggest crime in this world. You don't understand the hidden sect. It has a supreme position in this world. Everyone says that there are 3 sects in the world, and our Yin-Yang school, Mystic Sky sect, and the hidden sect are on the same level. But compared to the hidden sect, we are nothing," Dongfang Minmi said in a serious tone. "In short, the consequences of impersonating a hidden sect disciple might be many times more dangerous and severe than you think. Once you are exposed, you will immediately face the pursuit of the entire world. What if there are really disciples of the hidden sect walking around the world? Even if you aren't exposed, you will be judged and killed by the hidden sect. No one in the world can escape from the hidden sect's judgment," Yang Dingtian said. "But I can't think of a better idea. Furthermore, under Dugafengwu's coercion, I have already impersonated a hidden sect disciple once. Let's take our time," Dongfang Minmi said. "Anyway, there are still a few days before we reach Cloud Heaven City. And, At least we have to think of a way to leave this West Arrival Island. Yang Dingtian replied. Subsequently, he recalled the most important thing and said, Master, I have obtained half a map. I suspect that it is the map of the heaven and earth mystic flame. However, I can't understand the words on it. Can you understand it? I can understand 90% of the words in this world, Dongfang Minmi said. Yang Dingtian quickly took out the half map that Ningro gave him from his spatial ring, and looked at it in front of him. He then transmitted it to his master in his mind. Dongfang Minmi looked at it for a few minutes. His breathing became faster and faster, and his emotions became more and more agitated. Of course, he was just a divine sense and didn't need to breathe, but he still instinctively retained his original habits. Kid, the good news is that this is definitely the map of the heaven and earth mystic flame, Dongfang Minmi said. Really? Yang Dingtian was extremely excited. Originally, he only suspected that this was the map of the heaven and earth level mystic flame. Now that his master, Dongfang Minmi, had confirmed it, how could he not be pleasantly surprised? If one were to say that profound skill was the symbol of an expert, then, the heaven and earth obsidian flame was the symbol of a top expert. Almost all the martial artists in this world could only refine the mystic fire of the demonic beasts into their own heart fire. There were no more than 10 people in the entire world who could refine the heaven and earth obsidian flame into their own heart flame. They were the overlords of a region, the strongest in the universe. Yin-Yang School's principal, Dongfang Minmi, Black Heaven Sect's principal Zhu Qingzhu, Cloud Heaven City's principal, Shimin Wuya, Northwest Qin City's principal, Qin Wanchou, Temple of Blood's principal, De Gushao, and so on. Of course, if the heaven and earth mystic flame was the symbol of a top expert, then there was no doubt that the sword soul was the symbol of a top expert. It was one grade higher than the heaven and earth mystic flame. In the entire world, only Dongfang Minmi, Shimin Wuya, and the Hidden Sect Master were known to have cultivated the sword soul. Now that Dongfang Minmi and Shimin Wuya were no longer around, there was only the Hidden Sect Master left. And the Hidden Sect Master had already been in seclusion for 200 years. In other words, in the current world, there was no one who truly possessed a powerful sword soul. And there were only 3 people who were known to be preparing to cultivate the sword soul. Dugufengwu, Dongfang Bingling, and Yang Dingtian. Even Qin Huayu had never heard of him wanting to cultivate the sword soul. Previously, even with Yinyan's great talent, Shimin Wuya wasn't prepared to cultivate the sword soul. And to cultivate the sword soul, the most important thing was the heaven and earth mystic flame. But there's still a piece of bad news. Dongfang Minmi said, I know 90% of the words in this world, and the words on this scroll are precisely in the 10% that I don't know. After hearing his master's words, Yang Dingtian's heart instantly turned cold. Dongfang Minmi was practically the most knowledgeable person in the world. If even he couldn't recognize the words on this scroll, who else could? Following that, Dongfang Minmi said, Although I don't recognize the words on this scroll, I know which race's words are from. What race? Yang Dingtian quickly asked. Foxman race, Dongfang Minmi said. Yang Dingtian was startled, and instantly recalled the 1,000-year black fox demon that was sealed in the Cloud Heaven City's dungeon. They aren't humans? Yang Dingtian asked. Half human, half demonic beast, so they are called the half-human race. Dongfang Minmi said. Their bloodline talent isn't as strong as demonic beasts, but they are smarter than demonic beasts. Their Xian Meridian's talent is higher than humans, but they don't have as advanced a martial arts civilization as humans. Furthermore, their population is only 1/10 of that of humans, and they are divided into hundreds of races with endless internal conflicts. Therefore, even though they have their own civilized country that occupies the Dongli continent, they haven't been a threat to human civilization for thousands of years. Yang Dingtian was instantly astonished. He didn't think that there would be such a race in this world, half human, half demonic beast. Master, there's a 1,000-year black-tail fox sealed in the Cloud Heaven City's dungeon. Would she be able to recognize the words on this scroll? Yang Dingtian asked. Very likely, Dongfang Minmi said. Although demon is a demonic beast, She is still a member of the Foxman race. She should be able to recognize the Foxman race's words. If that's the case, then I really have to make a trip to Cloud Heaven City, Yang Dingtian said. But the consequences of impersonating a hidden sect disciple are very serious, Dongfang Minmi said. But at this moment, Demon might really be the only one who can recognize the words on this scroll. Master, there must be a way to get there. Anyway, we are still 8,000 miles away from Cloud Heaven City. Let's get close to Cloud Heaven City first. Then we can decide on how to enter Cloud Heaven City, Yang Dingtian said. That's the only way, Dongfang Minmi said. Oh right, Master, there's one more thing, Yang Dingtian said. When I used the Thunder Attribute Mystic skill, Mountain Split, not only did I need to channel my Xian Qi for 15 seconds, but I also only have enough Xian Qi to use it once. It can be seen that the level of the Mountain Split is still very low. Its power isn't strong, and it wastes a huge amount of Xian Qi. Then, is there any way to raise the level of the Mountain Split, so that it can use less Xian Qi to unleash more destructive power? Haha, Dongfang Minmi suddenly laughed. Poor child. At such an important moment like learning a mystic skill for the first time, you actually didn't have a teacher by your side to guide you. This is all my fault. That's right. Yang Dingtian really didn't know anything about learning mystic skills. The only thing he knew was to enter the scroll and start learning. After learning, he would channel the mystic skill and use it to attack. As for how to raise the level of the mystic skill, he really didn't know at all. If you want to raise the level of the mystic skill, you need mental strength. Dongfang Minmi said. Martial skills only require brute force and mystic skill to control. Mystic skills are a higher level and more complex attack method, so they require mental strength to control. The stronger the mental strength, the faster the level of the mystic skill. The more powerful the mystic skill, the more powerful the mystic skill will be, and the less Xian Qi it will consume. Speaking of mental strength, Yang Dingtian immediately thought of Sister Ningning. She was actually able to use a mystic skill to control 4 experts, so that they couldn't move. Without a doubt, her mental strength talent was unparalleled. Then how do I raise my mental strength? Yang Dingtian asked. Learn a mental scroll, then enter meditation, Dongfang Minmi said. Unfortunately, there aren't any mental scrolls on this deserted island. Is mental talent very rare? Yang Dingtian asked. Everyone has mental talent. It's just that everyone has different levels. Dongfang Minmi said. Shima Ningning. She has the highest mental talent I've ever seen. It's unprecedentedly high. Yang Dingtian continued to ask. Then is the mental scroll very precious? Many, Dongfang Minmi said. It's everywhere. You can buy a high-level one with money. Yang Dingtian thought that it made sense. After all, there were many people in this world who wanted to cultivate mystic skills. To cultivate mystic skills, one must cultivate mental strength. Therefore, mental scrolls were definitely not very rare. Speaking of mental scrolls, Yang Dingtian suddenly remembered that there were many things in the space ring that Sister Ningning gave him. However, Yang Dingtian felt that he was only borrowing the space ring. The things inside were most likely Sister Ningning's personal belongings. Although their relationship was already very close, Yang Dingtian still felt that he didn't put in all his effort to look through these things. Now that he thought about it, there were indeed many scrolls in the space ring. Perhaps there were mental scrolls inside. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but explore the space ring. Sure enough, there were several scrolls inside. There was a golden scroll, a black scroll, 2 red scrolls, 3 blue scrolls, 5 white scrolls, and 9 gray scrolls. In the corner of the space ring, there was also a colorless scroll. Sister Ningning's mystic qi seemed to be unable to be used as an attack, so these should all be mental scrolls. Generally speaking, the grade of a secret scroll was related to its color. The lowest grade was a mixed color, followed by gray, followed by white, blue, red, black, and finally gold. The highest grade was colorless. Colorless mental scrolls were the 9th grade, which was the highest grade of mental scrolls in the world. Yang Dingtian instinctively wanted to take the highest grade colorless scroll, but he remembered that these secret scrolls were all one-time use. After learning them, they would be destroyed. Sister Ningning had placed these scrolls here. It was obvious that she hadn't learned them yet. This colorless scroll was so precious. How could he learn it? He had to leave it for Sister Ningning. Taking this opportunity, Yang Dingtian's gaze landed on the golden scroll. He was still reluctant to learn it. Furthermore, he didn't have such a high spiritual talent. It might be a waste to give him a spiritual scroll that was too high in grade. There was only one black scroll. Yang Dingtian also couldn't bear to learn it. For a moment, Yang Dingtian didn't know which scroll to choose. Master, which scroll should I choose? Yang Dingtian summoned Dongfang Minmi's consciousness in his mind. Chapter 177. Silly child, some of these are spirit scrolls, and some are spirit profound skill manuals. Spirit scrolls are not rare, but the rarity of spirit profound skill manuals is second only to thunder attribute manuals. Dongfang Minmi suddenly said, "What you need to learn now is only the spirit scrolls." "Ah," Yang Dingtian said embarrassedly. "Then master, which one of these is a spirit profound skill manual?" Colorless, gold and black are all spirit profound skill manuals. The left of the red scroll is a profound skill manual, and the right is a meditation scroll. Dongfang Minmi said with a sigh, "Now I'm even more curious about Shimin Ningning's identity. Each of these 3 spirit profound skill manuals is priceless and extremely rare. Even the lowest level black profound skill manual would cause a sensation. Now he actually has 3 scrolls, and even the highest level colorless profound skill scroll. Other than these, they are all spirit scrolls, right? Is there any difference between the level of spirit scrolls?" Yang Dingtian asked. Spirit scroll is to cultivate spirit force. This is different from profound qi martial techniques. There is no concept of space and time at all, Dongfang Minmi said. The so-called spirit scroll is to lead you into a deep dream. In the dream, time and space can be unlimited. In reality, 2 hours can be a few days in the dream, or a few months or even longer. The higher the level of the scroll, the deeper the meditation dream. If your talent is not enough, your spirit will either be expelled directly, or you will be completely lost in meditation, and will never be able to wake up. Then wouldn't it be very dangerous to comprehend a high-level spirit scroll? Yang Dingtian said. It is very dangerous for others, but it doesn't matter to you, Dongfang Minmi said. Because with my consciousness, it is absolutely impossible for you to be lost. I can wake you up at any time. Then I will choose the red spirit scroll, Yang Dingtian said. Thus, Yang Dingtian took out the red spirit scroll on the right and slowly opened it. The mind scroll was different from all the other secret manuals. It was like a surging image, a combination of impressionism and ink painting. It was mysterious and deep. Countless images changed, as if there was a complete world inside. After Yang Dingtian opened the scroll, he was about to input a strand of profound qi to study it. Child, the key to cultivating the psychic scroll is to meditate at a deeper level. Therefore, it is best to be in an absolutely quiet, cold, and secluded environment. Meditating in such a way will yield twice the results with half the effort, Dongfang Minmi said. Yang Dingtian was stunned. He didn't expect there to be such a thing. However, at this moment, he just happened to be at the edge of a pool, so he could meditate and cultivate in the depths of the pool. Yang Dingtian took a qi concentration pill. This way, he would not need to breathe for 3 days and 3 nights. Then with the scroll in hand, he jumped into the pool. Suddenly, a cold and gloomy aura enveloped his entire body. The aura of his entire body seemed to condense. The cold water completely isolated Yang Dingtian's body from the outside world. It was indeed a good place to meditate. This pool was about 12 meters deep, and it was the best place to use for meditation. Opening the mind scroll, Yang Dingtian slowly inserted a strand of profound qi. Suddenly, the world of the scroll in his hand seemed to suddenly expand. Then, it produced a very strong suction force, sucking Yang Dingtian's soul in. Yang Dingtian's spiritual consciousness seemed to have entered a space-time tunnel. It shuttled quickly, and the scenery in front of him constantly changed. After a few minutes, his eyes suddenly lit up. The space-time shuttling stopped. Yang Dingtian found himself in a strange, but real environment. It was incomparably real. It was as if every detail was real. Sixth level mind scroll life blurred. This was a magnificent palace. It was incomparably huge, incomparably magnificent, and incomparably oppressive. Because this was an underground palace. At this moment, Yang Dingtian was in the deepest part of the palace. In front of him was a stunning beauty wearing palace attire. Hello, trial taker. Welcome to the Hell Palace. However, this palace has sunk into the ground for 10,000 years. Soon, a peerless demon will be born in this palace and completely destroy everyone in this palace. Therefore, you must escape immediately. The beauty in palace attire said. The first floor of the underground palace is 3,800 mu. There are 19,000 rooms and 39,000 paths. However, there is only one path to leave. The scenery on the path is almost exactly the same. There are only very slight differences. You only have 4 hours to escape from the first floor. This was a typical maze scroll. There were many types of mind scrolls. There were escape scrolls, maze scrolls, chess scrolls, perception scrolls, and so on. But without exception, they were all to train one's spiritual power. In the meditation dream, after time was magnified several times, one could train one's spiritual power in the world of these scrolls. The sixth level mind scrolls in this world were all left behind from the ancient world. The sixth level mind scrolls were constructed by this world's mind masters. And the mind scroll that Yang Dingtian was cultivating was undoubtedly left behind from the ancient world. Because this world's mind masters were still unable to construct this huge and complex world. Spiritual power was divided into static power, cohesive power, computing power, and perception power. Static power was how to calm down. Cohesive power was how to concentrate one's consciousness. Then computing power and perception power were the direct manifestations of spiritual power. How to make mystic skills faster, more powerful, and consume less mystic chi required perception power. How to make countless mystic chi construct an incomparably complex attack pattern required strong perception power to sense more mystic chi and control more mystic chi. This was like a reward for arranging troops and controlling the army to fight. A brilliant general could command the army like an arm, so 1,000 soldiers could win a battle. A less brilliant general would need 10,000 or 20,000. In fact, most of the soldiers were fishing in troubled waters, making up the numbers or sacrificing themselves in vain. The maze illusion could train people's cohesive power and computing power. After listening to the beauty and palace attire, Yang Dingtian immediately set off, preparing to escape from the underground palace. In the illusion, he only had 4 hours to escape from the palace. This was the first layer of the illusion, so 4 hours was equivalent to 2 hours in reality. Yang Dingtian walked less than 10 meters forward, and 3 roads appeared in front of him, all of which were exactly the same. He chose the first road on the left, and walked less than 20 meters forward. There was another set of forks in front of him. This time, there were 4 roads, and Yang Dingtian still chose the first one on the left. In this way, Yang Dingtian didn't know how many roads he walked, and in less than half an hour, he found himself back at the starting point. There was no doubt that the first escape failed. The second time, Yang Dingtian set off again, and after about 40 minutes, he turned back to the starting point. The third time, Yang Dingtian no longer remembered to set off, because walking blindly like this, he couldn't escape from the palace for a lifetime. He had to remember the logical relationship between each road. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian's walking speed slowed down. Because every 10 meters he walked, there was more data to remember in his mind. When Yang Dingtian walked 300 meters, there were more than 100 pieces of data in his mind that were full of complicated logical relationships. This was a great test of the depth and breadth of the brain. Once he completely escaped from the underground palace, his brain could almost remember thousands of pieces of data at the same time, and he could clearly understand the logical relationships between them. By then his mental strength would naturally be greatly improved. This could originally be done in the real world, but the real world relied on imagination, and it was really difficult to enter such a profound world. Moreover, there wasn't so much time in the real world. When he walked 300 meters, Yang Dingtian had to remember thousands of pieces of data in his mind. Moreover, there were many pieces of data that were useless, because there was only one way to escape. The only use of these pieces of data was to eliminate. When he walked 500 meters, Yang Dingtian's brain finally completely collapsed. All the recorded data was suddenly a mess, and all the logical relationships were suddenly completely messed up. His third attempt was a complete failure, but this time, he found 10% of the correct path. Yang Dingtian had more or less grasped the entire game's door knocking, and began his fourth attempt. However, on the fourth try, when he had just walked less than 15 meters, the entire palace shook. The ground suddenly split open, and then a huge demon crawled out of the ground and began to destroy everything. The incomparably magnificent palace and the incomparably thick golden pillars were all vulnerable under the demon's sharp claws. Soon, everything in the palace was destroyed, including Yang Dingtian, who was directly killed by a ball of flame spat out by the demon. In the incomparable burning pain, Yang Dingtian suddenly woke up. After waking up, he realized that everything just now was fake, and that he was in the void illusion. Suddenly, there was a burst of lingering fear. The illusion in this mind scroll was too real. Then, he could not help but feel annoyed. After 4 hours in the mind world, he had only completed 10% of the escape from the maze, and this was only the first level of the scroll. Master, I've only completed 10%. This plane is too difficult. Yang Dingtian said. Dongfang Minmi suddenly laughed and said, 10% is not satisfied. It's already very strong to have this result in your first meditation trial. Others start the trial from the first grade scroll illusion. Whether it's a chess game or a maze, it's much simpler and smaller. Your 6th grade scroll starts with a maze of thousands of acres, involving tens of thousands of numbers. Of course it's difficult. Then Dongfang Minmi said, and escaping the maze is not the goal. The progress of the spiritual power in the trial is the goal. Don't look at the failure of your trial mission. Your spiritual power has increased a lot. If you don't believe me, try again with your mystical skill attack. It's effective just like that? Yang Dingtian said in surprise. Of course, the effect is very obvious for the first time, Dongfang Minmi said. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian couldn't wait to paddle out of the water, and then began to condense his mystical qi, began to control the circulation of his mystical qi, and began to brew. Mountain split. This time, it only took 12 seconds for the condensation to be completed, and then a powerful energy burst out. Bang! A bolt of lightning struck out from Yang Dingtian's palm. It was 3 inches long, and it fiercely struck the water-stained boulder in front of him. Boom! A deep scorched crack was cleaved into the massive boulder. It was approximately 5 inches deep and 2 feet long. Then, Yang Dingtian quickly felt the mystical qi in his body, and there was still 1/3 of his mystical qi left. This mind scroll was really powerful. After the first meditation trial, his spiritual power had greatly increased. His thunder attribute mystical skill, Mountain Split, was 20% faster than the first time, and its power increased by 1/3, and the consumption of mystical qi was also reduced by 1/3. Yang Dingtian was pleasantly surprised. Then, he couldn't wait to dive to the bottom of the lake and start the second meditation trial. Just like before, he fled from the first floor of the underground palace. All the situations were exactly the same as the first time, but the deceptive thing was that the palace's maze had changed, the path had changed, and the palace's rooms had also changed. In other words, the memory and experience of the last time were completely invalid, and he needed to completely start from scratch. He needed to completely rely on his own spiritual power to completely escape the first floor of the maze. Thus, Yang Dingtian began to struggle to escape the maze, and began to remember the data, analyze the data, and calculate the data. However, with the experience of the last time, although the maze had completely changed, Yang Dingtian still walked out 700 meters, and from more than 3,000 data, he calculated 15% of the correct path. But then, Yang Dingtian's brain really couldn't record more data, and really couldn't carry out such complicated calculations. His whole brain seemed to be completely split open. In fact, even a peerless genius couldn't remember thousands of data at the same time and carry out thousands of complicated calculations. At this time, a strong perception was needed to find the pattern inside, so that the number of calculations would be greatly reduced, and there was no need to remember such tedious data. Finally, after the first failure, Yang Dingtian began the second attempt of the second trial, as if he slowly found a pattern, and then carried out a more refined calculation. In this way, it was really unusual. Yang Dingtian walked out 950 meters, completing 23% of the correct path. But then, this pattern began to lose effect, and Yang Dingtian's trial failed again. Just as Yang Dingtian was about to start again, that terrifying giant demon appeared again, destroyed the illusion, burned Yang Dingtian, and directly awakened Yang Dingtian to the real world. After Yang Dingtian woke up, he directly floated to the surface of the water and began the second profound qi breathing. After a few hours, his sea of qi and profound veins were filled with battle profound qi with impurities. Then, Yang Dingtian began to test the new mountain split profound skill. 9 seconds. This time he only needed 9 seconds, and Yang Dingtian was able to brew mountain split. Pa! A half-foot thick blue lightning suddenly struck out, and ruthlessly struck that huge rock. Suddenly, an 8-inch deep, 3-foot-long crack appeared on the huge rock. And this time, after Yang Dingtian used mountain split, he still had 45% of his profound qi left. Chapter 178. After the second spiritual trial, Yang Dingtian's profound skill had indeed improved again, and the improvement was still very large. On the basis of the previous improvement, the channeling time had increased by another 3 seconds. The power of the lightning had also increased by 30 to 40%, and the consumption of profound qi had increased from 2/3 to the current 55%. This spiritual trial was indeed very powerful and effective. No wonder so many people meditated all day long, and even forgot to cultivate martial skills. Because after meditating, the improvement of profound skill was simply too obvious. Immediately, Yang Dingtian could not help but ask, "Master, how is my spiritual talent?" Dongfang Minmi did not directly answer but said, "Little Tian, 80% of spiritual talent has nothing to do with profound vein talent. Only when it comes to spiritual profound skill will it be related to profound vein talent. A person without the strength to truss a chicken is very likely to have very high spiritual talent. Therefore, all the beast speakers in this world have very high spiritual talent. In fact, all the spiritual masters in this world have very average profound vein talent." Although Master did not say it out loud, Yang Dingtian already understood his master's meaning. Don't have high expectations for your spiritual talent, just because you have 9 young profound veins. Spiritual talent, to put it bluntly, is relying on the brain. Of course, the brain here does not completely refer to intelligence and intelligence. There are many mental patients who might also have very high spiritual talent. Your profound vein talent is 1 in a billion. Your spiritual talent is also one of the best, and can probably be ranked in the top 3% of all the people in the world. Dongfang Minmi said, "Being in the top 3% already sounds very awesome, but in reality, it means that there are at least 100 million people in this world with spiritual talent that surpasses Yang Dingtian." However, Yang Dingtian is not vexed. Being in the top 3% is already very good. He can't ask the heavens to give him the 1 in a billion 9 yang profound veins, and also give him the 1 in a billion spiritual talent. Don't worry, as long as you don't want to become a spiritual master, your spiritual talent is more than enough. In the early stages, mental strength is very important for increasing the power of mystical skills. However, towards the end, it is almost completely difficult to improve. Even if one's mental strength doubles, the power of mystical skills may not even increase by 1%. Therefore, other than mental strength masters, almost no one would be addicted to training their mental strength. If you have enough, you have to grasp a good balance. Dongfang Minmi said, "I understand. I don't have to fight for first place in everything. I have to win everything. Yang Dingtian said. It's good that you understand these things. These things are also very important, Dongfang Minmi said. This time, Yang Dingtian did not immediately dive into the water to undergo the spiritual trial, even though this trial was like a very fun game. He began to practice his martial arts as usual. He practiced the pig-slaying swordsmanship for a total of 6 hours before the sun set again. Today there were still no ships on the sea. After the sky darkened, Yang Dingtian once again dived into the water to conduct his spiritual trial. 2 hours in the real world, 4 hours in the spiritual illusion realm. This time, after 2 hours, Yang Dingtian completed a third of the maze. This was because he discovered the second calculation law. However, after passing a third of the correct path, this law failed again. Yang Dingtian had to search for the third law in the vast amount of data. After being roasted awake by the giant demon's flames, he did not immediately surface to test the mountain split. Instead, he practiced for a while before entering the spiritual trial again. This time, after 2 hours, Yang Dingtian finally discovered the third law of the maze. This time he completed half of the maze. Unfortunately, after passing half of the maze, Yang Dingtian's third law failed again. After waking up this time, he rested for a while before Yang Dingtian entered the spiritual trial again. This was the third spiritual trial of the day. This time, Yang Dingtian found the fourth law of the maze. However, he found that the path was still wrong. Therefore, this time, he could not pass half of the path no matter what. It was not until he was about to leave the spiritual illusion realm that Yang Dingtian discovered the fifth law. Moreover, he had to combine the two laws together. However, there was not enough time. He was quickly kicked out of the spiritual illusion realm. This time, without rest, Yang Dingtian directly entered the fourth spiritual trial. For the fourth time, Yang Dingtian's luck exploded. After completing 60% of the path, he actually concluded the sixth law. Then, combined with the fifth and fourth laws, he directly completed 80% of the path. In other words, there was still 20% left before Yang Dingtian completely completed the first level of the spiritual scroll. When he woke up from the fourth spiritual trial, it was dawn. Yang Dingtian just happened to be doing the profound breathing technique. After a few hours of breathing, Yang Dingtian's Xian meridians and Sea of Qi were once again filled with battle Xian Qi. Then he started a new mountain split test. This time, I completed 80% of the spiritual trial. I hope the improvement of mountain split is as great, Yang Dingtian secretly said in his heart. Then he slowly closed his eyes and began to accumulate Xian Qi, organizing the mysterious lightning attribute Xian skill. Pa! A bolt of lightning suddenly struck out from the center of his palm. It actually only needed 3 seconds to directly launch an attack. Last time it still needed 9 seconds. This time it only needed 3 seconds. Yang Dingtian was immediately overjoyed at this turn of events. Moreover, the lightning this time was actually more than a foot thick. It was nearly twice as thick as the previous time. And that huge rock had a crack that was more than a foot deep and 5 feet long. In other words, the power of mountain split had increased by a full fold. Finally, looking at the amount of Xian Qi consumed, Yang Dingtian was pleasantly surprised to find that there was still 80% of Xian Qi left. In other words, the Xian Qi in Yang Dingtian's body was now enough to support the attack of mountain split 5 times. One must know that at the beginning, he could only support 1 time. Moreover, the power was not even a fraction of the current power. After going through the spiritual trial, the effect of increasing the power of the Xian skill was simply too great. Next, Yang Dingtian once again entered the cultivation of the Xian skill. After a full 8 hours of cultivation, the remaining Xian Qi in his body was completely exhausted. When the sky turned dark, he once again entered the bottom of the water and went through the spiritual trial. Tonight, Yang Dingtian was confident that he could completely escape the maze and complete the first level of the scroll's spiritual trial. However, the result was obviously more difficult than Yang Dingtian imagined. In the beginning, Yang Dingtian very smoothly completed 95% of the route. Moreover, it only took him half an hour. But for the next 5%, he was unable to complete it. The second time, he was still stuck at 95% of the route. The third time, he was still stuck at 95% of the route. For the remaining 5% of the route, Yang Dingtian practically looked for every method, tried every possibility, and eliminated all the wrong paths. However, he actually could not find a correct path. Thus, Yang Dingtian suddenly had a crazy idea. Could it be that his direction was wrong from the start? This 95% correct path was originally a trap. All the previous laws were also completely traps. Thus, during the fourth spiritual trial, Yang Dingtian decided to abandon the 95% of the route that he had previously completed and chose to completely start from scratch. The laws that he had previously spent countless time searching for were also completely abandoned. Everything was starting from scratch. This required courage and conviction. However, Yang Dingtian did not lack these. In the illusory realm of the trial, there was a total of 4 hours of trial time. After a full 3 hours, Yang Dingtian was still like a headless fly. He could not even find 1% of the correct path, nor did he discover any pattern. Just as he was about to completely give up hope, he suddenly discovered a new law. Then he quickly found the first 10% of the route. He did not turn back to the starting point. Furthermore, this route was completely different from the 95% of the route that he had previously completed. Following that, it was 20%, 30%, 40%. In the last hour, Yang Dingtian's exploration speed was astonishingly fast. It was completely unprecedented. When there were only 5 minutes left, Yang Dingtian had already walked 95% of this path. There was still 5% left before he could leave this maze. He had to complete the first layer of this scroll to cultivate his spirit. Only then would he be able to see what the second layer of the illusion realm was like. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian's heart was nervous. He was afraid that it would be the same as before. The remaining 5% of the route could not be found. This was another trap route. In the end, Yang Dingtian worried too much. The remaining 5% was still very smooth. It was just a little stuck for a while. And then it immediately became clear. When there was only 1 second left, Yang Dingtian had already seen the exit. It was a large golden door with a snow-white light shining outside. Finally completed, Yang Dingtian suddenly cheered in his heart, and then rushed out. Swish! A white light appeared in front of him, and the scene suddenly changed. He walked out of the first layer of the underground palace, and completed the first layer of the bewitching scroll. Then, the scene of the second layer of the illusory realm immediately appeared in front of him. But at this moment, the time of the secret realm was up, and it directly pulled Yang Dingtian back to the real world. Yang Dingtian opened his eyes. At this moment, the sky was already bright. Just nice, I'm going to do mystic breathing, and then try mountain split again to see how big of a breakthrough there is. Yang Dingtian's heart was filled with anticipation. The results of the previous spiritual cultivation were really plentiful. It completely allowed his lightning-type mystic skills to advance by leaps and bounds. This time, he directly completed the first layer of the secret realm cultivation, and was instantly filled with anticipation for the breakthrough of his mystic skills. But immediately after, he discovered that there was a strange sound in the pool that had been quiet all this time. He could not help but raise his head. Instantly, an incomparably moving scene was imprinted in his eyes, and he was caught off guard. At this moment, there was actually a woman swimming in the water above him. Although he could not see her face clearly, her figure was shockingly good. She was completely like a mermaid, and her legs were shockingly long. Note: please give me a few monthly tickets. Chapter 179. Of course, she was wearing a skin-tight swimsuit, so it couldn't be considered a serious and decent act. She was very good at swimming, just like a fish, full of vitality and strength in the water. It was truly rare for Yang Dingtian to see such a vigorous and beautiful figure. It was truly like a mermaid. Yang Dingtian didn't look at her, quickly lowered his head, avoiding her gaze. Then he continued to hide at the bottom of the water. If he went out now, he wouldn't be able to explain himself clearly. It was better to wait until this woman finished swimming and left before going out. Someone actually came to this island. This was good news after all. If someone came, it meant that there was a boat. If there was a boat, it meant that Yang Dingtian could leave this island. But after that, this woman actually swam endlessly. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but feel anxious. This was nothing. But the worst thing was that this woman actually started to dive. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but be anxious. He could only pray that this woman wouldn't sneak to his side and discover him. But things didn't go as he wished. The woman quickly dived to the deepest part, and then discovered Yang Dingtian at the bottom of the water. She was first shocked, then revealed a look of shame and anger. Then, like a fish, she quickly swam up and quickly went ashore, disappearing from Yang Dingtian's sight. Yang Dingtian didn't immediately go up, because he wanted to give the woman enough time. After waiting for a full 10 minutes, Yang Dingtian felt that the woman above should be all right, and then he swam up with all his might. When he just surfaced, he immediately saw the woman holding a sharp sword in her hand, standing on the shore and suddenly stabbing at Yang Dingtian. "Thief, watch my sword." It turned out that this woman had been guarding the shore with a sword, waiting for Yang Dingtian to show his head. This sword stab was ruthless and sharp, directly stabbing at Yang Dingtian's chest. Yang Dingtian used his fingers as a sword, directly clamping the blade of the sword, and then directly borrowing the force, he jumped out of the water and jumped onto the shore. "Thief, die." The woman was still unwilling to let him go, and the sharp sword in her hand pierced towards him again. Yang Dingtian might have exhausted all his mystic qi, but in terms of swordsmanship attainment, he had cultivated the world's #1 pig-slaying sword art. Therefore, he could easily restrain this young lady's sword. His right hand struck out like a bolt of lightning, once again catching the girl's sharp blade. Then, he seized the opportunity to snatch the sword from her hand. "Miss, please clarify something first. I was the one who started the spiritual trial underwater. I don't even know when you came to swim. So what reason do you have to stab me with your sword indiscriminately?" Yang Dingtian said. "You noticed me, so why didn't you show yourself? Instead, you dived into the water. You clearly have bad intentions." That woman said angrily. "I was just afraid that you would feel awkward if I showed up. So I wanted to wait until you left before I came out of the water. Who knew that you would swim endlessly?" Yang Dingtian said. "Do you think I'll believe you?" That woman said. "Who knows what kind of dirty thoughts you had when you dived into the water? Maybe you wanted to wait for me to change my clothes." Yang Dingtian suddenly smiled bitterly. He really didn't know how to explain himself. He could only helplessly say, "Then I swear if I lie, may the heavens punish me?" That girl looked deeply at Yang Dingtian for a long time, then stretched out her hand and said, "Give me back my sword." Yang Dingtian was slightly stunned. "Just let it go. So easy to talk to." Yang Dingtian returned the sword to her. He didn't know if she believed Yang Dingtian's words, or if there was no other way, or if she was a generous and straightforward woman. So she really let it go. At this time, Yang Dingtian noticed the woman's appearance. It was a rare, beautiful woman. Her eyes were big, slightly raised, and full of spirit. Her oval face was very small, her lips were very delicate, and her nose was very high. She looked like a very opinionated woman, with a strong personality. However, at this time, there was a slight trace of wind and frost on her face, as if she had been working hard for a long time. "What are you doing on this island alone?" The woman looked at Yang Dingtian and asked. "My boat was destroyed. I can't leave." Yang Dingtian. "So I have been waiting here for a boat to pass by. It has been more than 10 days. You are the first person I have seen on this island. Do you have a boat?" "Of course," the woman said. "My boat just happened to pass by here. I felt uncomfortable. I knew there was a clear pool here, so I came to swim. Who knew you would be here?" "I'm sorry, I really didn't mean to," Yang Dingtian said embarrassedly. "It's okay, I'm just unlucky," the woman said and waved her hand. She was very straightforward. Yang Dingtian didn't like this sentence. What did she mean by she was unlucky? He was clearly in the pool first. Moreover, she was wearing a diving suit at that time. Her entire body was wrapped up tightly. She didn't suffer any losses. However, the woman before him was already very reasonable. Therefore, Yang Dingtian didn't say anything. He then asked, "Can I leave on your boat?" You just have to send me to the northwest continent. I can pay you. The woman frowned and said, I can let you leave on my boat. It's just on the way. What do you want? Yang Dingtian. It's nothing. The woman said, I'm Ling Wu. What about you? Yin Nantian. Yang Dingtian. Then come with me. Ling Wu said. However, my boat will reach Sky Blaze Island. That's my home. It's still 400 miles away from the northwest continent. However, when the time comes, I can send a boat to send you to the northwest continent. I'm very grateful. Yang Dingtian said. It's nothing. Ling Wu said. However, you'll have to wait for a while. My boat needs to replenish its fresh water on this island. I also need to clean up the sundries on the boat. It will take about 2 hours. All right. Thank you, Mississippi, Yang Dingtian said. Why do you have so many thanks? You're really boring. Ling Wu said. Yang Dingtian smiled embarrassedly. He just happened to take advantage of this period of time to do mystic qi breathing. Then, I won't disturb Mississippi, Yang Dingtian said. After that, he walked to a remote corner and sat down. He closed his eyes and adjusted his breathing. After 2 hours, Yang Dingtian managed to fill more than half of his energy reserve with battle mystic qi with great difficulty. Hey Yin Nantian. It's time to go. Ling Wu shouted from outside. All right. Yang Dingtian stood up and walked out. At this moment, Ling Wu had already changed her clothes. She wore a cautious sharkskin diving suit inside, and a tight suit outside. She looked even more charming and charming. At this moment, Yang Dingtian finally paid attention to her face. She was actually very charming and gorgeous. Her eyes were very big, and her beautiful face looked somewhat shrewish. She appeared very powerful. Yang Dingtian followed behind her, and arrived at the seaside. The ship she was talking about was actually a big ship. It was several tens of meters long and 7 to 8 meters tall. There were close to 100 people on board. At this moment, the ship was filled with all kinds of goods. It was very obvious that this ship was a trading ship. Miss. Greetings, miss. Greetings, miss. When they boarded the ship, everyone stopped what they were doing wherever Ling Wu passed by. They saluted and greeted her one after another with respectful expressions. Moreover, it was from the bottom of their hearts. It seemed like Ling Wu had a lot of prestige and support on this ship. After boarding the ship, Ling Wu brought Yang Dingtian to a comfortable cabin and said, You can stay here. Someone will send you food and water. When you're bored, you can also go to the deck to relieve your boredom. I still have things to do, so I won't entertain you. Miss, please do as you please, Yang Dingtian said. After Ling Wu left, Yang Dingtian discovered that there was actually a fragrance in this cabin. When he looked at the things inside, all of them were for women. This cabin was so comfortable. It should be Ling Wu's cabin. Yang Dingtian's heart immediately warmed up. This woman looked shrewish. Moreover, her words weren't very polite. However, her heart was indeed very warm. She and Yang Dingtian were complete strangers. Yet, she actually gave her cabin to Yang Dingtian. Some people were indeed born warm-hearted. Even if they were to entertain strangers, they would still take out their best things. Not long after Ling Wu left, a girl came to deliver top-notch fruits, snacks, and fragrant tea. Sir, please enjoy your meal. When it's time for lunch, I'll send the food over. Do you want to drink wine? After that girl put down the fruits and snacks, she asked respectfully, I don't need any wine. Yang Dingtian said, Please thank your lady for me. Also, thank you for sending me these things. You've worked hard. That girl's face turned slightly red and said, You're welcome. You're too courteous. After that, she lowered her head and left the cabin. After Yang Dingtian stayed in the cabin for a while, he felt bored. Moreover, this place wasn't suitable for him to conduct a spiritual trial, nor was it suitable for him to cultivate profound skills. In that case, he might as well steal half a day of leisure. Yang Dingtian left the cabin and walked to the deck. Part of this ship's movement relied on the sails, while the other part relied on the paddles. Therefore, there weren't many people on the deck. He could only see a slender and moving figure standing at the bow of the ship and gazing into the distance. Her gorgeous face carried a faint melancholy. However, when she sensed someone walking over, The melancholy on her face immediately faded away. When she turned around and saw that it was Yang Dingtian, she immediately nodded her head and didn't say anything. Since their friendship was still shallow, Yang Dingtian naturally wouldn't ask her what she was worried about. "Miss, this ship is used for trading?" Yang Dingtian asked. Ling Wu nodded her head and said, "For generations, our Inferno Island has been trading ships for a living. It must be very hard, right?" Yang Dingtian couldn't help but ask when he saw that Ling Wu's tender and beautiful face was rather weathered. "In this world, what isn't hard to do?" Ling Wu said. "As long as we can be safe and sound, it's already a blessing from the heavens." "That's right." Yang Dingtian sighed. "Yin Nantian, if I'm not presumptuous, what do you do?" Ling Wu asked. "Me." Yang Dingtian thought for a while and said, "I'm a person who wastes my life for a certain mission." "Who isn't like that?" Ling Wu said. "I'm a woman. I can't learn embroidery and make clothes at home. Instead, I have to wander about on the sea. Trading ships is so hard, especially for a woman. Why doesn't Miss Ling hand it over to someone else?" Yang Dingtian asked. Ling Wu shook her head and said, "I don't have any brothers. Father only has me as his child. Currently, he's seriously injured and bedridden. There are thousands of people on the island who need to eat. Therefore, I can only shoulder this heavy burden." "Miss Ling is really amazing," Yang Dingtian said. "It's a pity that I'm like a clay bodhisattva crossing a river. Otherwise, I'd definitely lend a hand. It's already very good to be able to talk to you and relieve my worries." Ling Wu smiled and said, "Right now, I just want to find a shoulder that's strong enough for me to lean on. After that, I'll hand this heavy burden over to him, so that I can do the laundry and cook at home, and live the peaceful life of an ordinary woman." When talking about this topic, Ling Wu still had a generous look on her face without the slightest bit of bashfulness. Actually, when she said these words to Yang Dingtian, she didn't have any romantic intentions. She was just a tired woman who wanted to find someone to lean on. "Miss Ling is so outstanding. You'll definitely find an outstanding husband." Yang Dingtian said, "Thanks for your auspicious words. I hope that person will come before me soon, so that I won't have to work so hard." Ling Wu said, "I've long been tired of the life of drifting on the sea. I've long wanted to stay at home and take care of my husband and children." "Miss, there's an enemy." Suddenly, the lookout who was standing on the sails shouted loudly. Ling Wu's expression changed as she said, "Who is it? How many people are there?" "It's the Black Blood Pirates under the command of that bastard Yang Dingtian. They have 3 ships and approximately 100 people." That lookout said, "Damned Cloud Heaven City, and even more damned Yang Dingtian." Ling Wu gnashed her teeth and said fiercely, "Note, requesting for a few monthly votes." Chapter 180. Yang Dingtian, who was at the side, was immediately shocked. "What does this have to do with me? What do these pirates have to do with me, Yang Dingtian? Blow the horn and prepare for battle," Ling Wu said. After that, she suddenly pulled out her scimitar and said, "Yin Nantian, I can see that you have some martial arts. It's up to you whether you want to stay and help or stay in the cabin." Yang Dingtian said, "I'll stay and fight. However, I'll go and retrieve my weapon first." After that, Yang Dingtian pretended to walk down from the cabin. He retrieved Ah Chao's heavy sword from his spatial ring and returned to Ling Wu's side. When Ling Wu saw Ah Chao's youngling sword in Yang Dingtian's hand, she couldn't help but be slightly stunned. "This is your weapon. This iron rod doesn't look like an iron rod, nor does it look like an iron ruler. It's so ugly. I have a better weapon here. I'll get someone to get one for you." "No need. This sword of mine is very good," Yang Dingtian said. Very soon, 3 ships appeared in Yang Dingtian's field of vision. They were about a few dozen miles away from Ling Wu's ship. When he looked at the flag again, it was indeed the flag of Cloud Heaven City's Black Blood Castle. Without a doubt, this was the enemy's attempt to frame him. Great. In order to frame Yang Dingtian, the Northwest Qing clan and Shimanju were really unscrupulous in their methods. Previously, when he returned from the Southwest continent, he had also encountered the Black Blood Cavalry pirates on their deck. Today he encountered them again. It could be seen that the surrounding sea was filled with pirates, pretending to be brothers of the Black Blood Cavalry. However, what exactly had happened to the Black Blood Cavalry? Why did Shimanju and the Qing clan use such methods? The Black Blood Castle was a few thousand miles away from here. Even if they wanted to frame the Black Blood Cavalry, their reason wasn't sufficient. Do these pirates frequently rob the ships that come and go? Yang Dingtian asked. Not only frequently, there wasn't a single ship that hadn't been robbed in the past few months. Ling Wu said coldly and hatefully. Furthermore, these bastards bully the weak and fear the strong. They don't dare to offend anyone who hangs the flag of the Tiando League. They even shamelessly escorted others. When they encounter us who are weak, they are like poisonous snakes and ferocious tigers. If it wasn't for the fact that the island couldn't hold on any longer, I wouldn't have taken this risk. The goods on the ship are the last of my family's belongings. If they are robbed, my family will be finished. Aren't they draining the pond to catch all the fish? If there are no more merchant ships on the sea, who else can they rob? Yang Dingtian asked. As long as you give them 3 women and 300 gold coins every month, they will let you go. Ling Wu said. We don't give them women. However, we're willing to give them 500 gold coins every month. Originally, they had agreed to it as well. However, later on, that bastard Yang Dingtian took a fancy to me and wanted me to become his concubine. I wasn't willing, so they specially robbed our ships. Furthermore, they would launch sneak attacks on our Inferno Island every 2 to 3 days. My father was injured by that bastard. After she finished speaking, Ling Wu's beautiful eyes turned red, and her entire face was filled with bone-deep hatred. As for Yang Dingtian, he was about to explode from anger at this moment. That group of bastards. It was one thing to let someone impersonate him to rob the ships on the sea, but now, they were actually forcefully robbing women. They were trying to turn Yang Dingtian into a public enemy. Yang Dingtian asked. Miss Ling Wu, have you seen that Yang Dingtian before? Yes, I have. Ling Wu said coldly. Long face, high nose, deep eyes. He's a pretty good-looking gigolo. However, he's a bastard. I don't know how many innocent women he has robbed on the Black Blood Island. I don't know how many decent women have been defiled by him. And I don't know how many women have committed suicide after being defiled. Bastard. Yang Dingtian roared furiously. He gritted his teeth and hissed. This bastard should be torn into pieces. Ling Wu's description of this Yang Dingtian was exactly the same as her own appearance. At this moment, the 3 pirate ships were getting closer and closer. Yang Dingtian had already seen the appearance of the pirate leader. It was truly a small world. It was the pirate leader who had robbed the passenger ship previously. He had even taken Ningro, and her daughter as hostages. In the end, he had even chased after Yang Dingtian until he consumed a water avoidance pill and fled. At that time, because he was a great mystic martial master, Yang Dingtian was far from being his match. Now it was different from the past. Yang Dingtian was already a great mystic martial master expert. Since he had delivered himself to his doorstep today, he must tear him into pieces. It was also a good opportunity for Yang Dingtian to test how strong he was. Miss Ling Wu, we meet again. That pirate leader laughed heartily and said, Why? Obediently follow me back to be our young master's woman. Otherwise, we'll rob all the goods on the ship, snatch all the women on the ship, and kill all the men on the ship. In your dreams, Ling Wu said coldly. Even if I die in this sea, I won't let that bastard Yang Dingtian defile me. Immediately, Yang Dingtian's face twitched violently. Others said that one would be shot even when lying down. Yang Dingtian was shot even when lying down. That's not up to you. The pirate leader sneered and said. If you fall into our hands, I'm afraid it'll be hard for you to die even if you want to. Following that, the sexy and seductive female pirate at the side discovered Yang Dingtian. She pushed the pirate leader at the side and said, Big brother, look. It's the one who escaped earlier. He snatched away 2 exceptional beauties from your hands. The pirate leader's face was covered in scars, and his flesh was exposed. He looked incomparably ugly and sinister. However, his 2 eyes were indeed deep and threatening. At this moment, he looked at Yang Dingtian like lightning and sneered. It's really you, my dear. What the fuck are you? Wherever there are beauties, you'll go there. Where are those two exceptional beauties by your side? Give them to our young master Yang Dingtian. I guarantee that you'll enjoy a lifetime of glory, splendor, wealth and rank. Yang Dingtian didn't argue with him. He just stared at him coldly. Sister, don't you like pretty boys the most? I'll give him to you in a while. Kill him after you're done with him. Chop off his head, and let him be my plaything. The pirate leader laughed cruelly. That female pirate stuck out her chest towards Yang Dingtian. She stuck out her bright red tongue and licked it. Then, she revealed a licentious smile towards Yang Dingtian. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian discovered that this female pirate looked somewhat familiar. However, he couldn't recall where he had seen her before. At this moment, all the sailors on Ling Wu's cargo ship had already ascended to the deck. They were holding swords in their hands. On the deck, 7 to 8 giant crossbows suddenly opened up. Even though there were quite a number of people on the cargo ship, they were, after all, only sailors. Therefore, their faces were filled with fear when they faced the pirates who were charging towards them. Even their hands that were holding swords were trembling. Yin Nantian, have you met them before? Ling Wu asked. A few months ago. Yang Dingtian replied. You couldn't defeat them? Ling Wu asked. I couldn't defeat them at that time. So I ran away. Yang Dingtian replied. In that case, you can take advantage of the chaos to sneak away. There's no need for you to die together with us. Ling Wu said. I'm already very satisfied that you were able to stay on the deck and stand with me for a while. Yang Dingtian sneered. This is no longer entirely your problem. At this moment, the 3 pirate ships were getting closer and closer. After that, they actually changed their direction and came from 3 different directions to outflank them. When the people on the cargo ship saw that they were surrounded, the fear on their faces became even more intense. As long as someone took the lead, everyone would probably throw away the weapons in their hands and jump into the sea to escape. The 3 pirate ships were getting closer and closer. When there were still 300 meters left, Ling Wu suddenly ordered, "Fire the crossbows." Immediately, a few sailors took up their hammers and smashed the giant crossbows. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Giant arrows that were as thick as an arm were suddenly shot out and shot towards the 3 pirate ships. Ha 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 ha. That pirate leader laughed heartily. He actually stood at the bow of the ship and stared at the giant crossbows that were shooting towards him. He didn't even try to dodge. When the giant crossbows were in front of him, that pirate leader suddenly slashed down with the broadsword in his hand. At the same time, the experts on the other 2 ships also slashed down with their swords. Bang! Immediately, all of the giant arrows shot out from the giant crossbows were smashed into pieces. My dear, I'm coming. After that, a loud roar suddenly sounded. That pirate leader, that seductive female pirate, and another thin and pale youth suddenly straightened their bodies and pounced towards the cargo ship from over 100 meters away. The 3 of them pounced over from 3 different directions like eagles. Yang Dingtian discovered that the martial arts of this pirate leader wasn't the strongest among the 3 of them. The strongest one was that thin and pale youth. Kill! Kill! That pirate leader pounced towards Ling Wu. That thin and pale youth pounced towards the numerous sailors on the deck. As for that seductive female pirate, she pounced towards Yang Dingtian with a machete in her hand. Yang Dingtian circulated the profound energy in his entire body and slashed towards the seductive female pirate's machete. Haha, my dear, you're not this sister's match. The seductive female pirate teased with a sweet voice. Clang! A loud sound suddenly sounded. Yang Dingtian's acho stood firmly on the female pirate's machete. Pfff. That female pirate suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. And at the same time, that thin and pale youth rushed into the crowd. Whoosh 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 whoosh. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 people died tragically under his sword. All of them died without an intact corpse. This thin youth's sword technique was vicious, strange, and as fast as a ghost. As for that pirate leader's ghost head blade, it stood firmly on Ling Wu's sword. Clang! A fierce collision sounded. Ling Wu suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Her delicate body retreated more than 10 steps, and she nearly sat on the ground. Little beauty, I'm being merciful. Next, have a taste of my ghost head blade. That pirate leader shot out an evil radiance from his eyes. The ghost head blade in his hand was like splashing ink as it slashed towards Ling Wu. His moves were truly shameless to the extreme. All of them were aimed towards her lower body. Ling Wu was greatly alarmed. She wanted to raise her sword to resist. However, her entire body was in severe pain, and she didn't have the slightest bit of strength. She looked at the ugly and disgusting face of that pirate leader, the ghost head blade that was slashing towards her lower body, and then looked at the clan's sailors that had fallen to the ground and were massacred. I'd rather die than suffer such humiliation. Ling Wu shouted crisply. She suddenly placed her sword horizontally across her neck and was about to commit suicide. Clang! Suddenly, her sword was flicked away. Her arm suddenly trembled and went numb. The sharp sword in her hand had nearly flown out of her hand. It was Yang Dingtian, who flicked away the sword that she was about to commit suicide. After that, he suddenly grabbed onto Ling Wu's arm and pulled her behind him. Then he turned around to face this pirate leader. Enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. Last time, you fled upon hearing my news. This time, I'll let you have a taste of how powerful I, Yang Dingtian, am. Chapter 181. It's you? You've actually become more powerful? The pirate revealed an astonished expression. Then he revealed a ferocious gaze and sneered. Since it's you, there's no need to be merciful. It's just nice that I cut off your thing and soak it in wine. Immediately, the profound energy in the pirate leader's entire body rose to the extreme. His speed was also extremely fast. The ghost head blade in his hand was incomparably ferocious, as it slashed towards Yang Dingtian's vital part between his legs. Go! Yang Dingtian roared furiously. He aimed at the ghost head blade of the pirate leader and fiercely slashed it down. Bang! A loud sound resounded. Immediately, the ghost head blade of the pirate leader was directly chopped off and flew out. As for the pirate leader, he retreated over 10 steps. Immediately, he looked at Yang Dingtian in disbelief. A few months ago, Yang Dingtian was still so weak and was chased away by him. But now, he was actually so powerful that he directly repelled him with a single slash. Third brother, this idea is powerful. Come over here, let's attack together. The pirate leader said to the skinny white-faced youth. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. That skinny youth slashed a few more times at lightning speed and took away the lives of a few people. Then like a zombie, he suddenly shot to the side of the pirate leader. His corpse-like gaze stared fixedly at Yang Dingtian. And at this moment, that seductive female pirate also crawled up from the ground and wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth. Sister, you deal with that bitch Ling Wu. The two of us will kill this gigolo, the pirate leader said. All right, that seductive female pirate said. However, if you let me take action, this delicate beauty won't be able to live. Up to you. The pirate leader sneered. Leave the corpse intact. It's the same as giving it to the young master. When these words were spoken, Ling Wu's face suddenly turned ghastly pale. Suddenly, the corner of her mouth felt warm. It was Yang Dingtian's hand and a medicinal pill. This was the Holy Spirit pill. With Ling Wu's injuries, after consuming the medicinal pill, it was guaranteed that her combat strength would completely recover. Miss Ling Wu, what's your cultivation level? Yang Dingtian asked. 5-star black martial master. Ling Wu replied. That's barely enough. Although that female pirate is a great mystic martial master, she's already injured. You should be able to barely hold on, Yang Dingtian said. You and I are back to back. I'll deal with these two, and you deal with that female pirate. All right, Ling Wu replied. After that, her delicate body stuck close to him. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian felt something soft on his back. The moment Ling Wu's delicate body came into contact with Yang Dingtian, it clearly trembled slightly. Sweetheart, let's get intimate in hell, the pirate leader said coldly. Go kill him. Immediately, the two of them charged over ferociously. One's sword light was like a ghost, while the other's blade light was like ink. These two people were both great mystic martial masters. Yang Dingtian could feel that this skinny, white-faced youth's mystic chi cultivation was not inferior to his. Dang 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 dang. In an instant, the two pirates were in front of him. The ghost head blade madly attacked Yang Dingtian's lower body. The zombie-like sharp sword fiercely pierced towards Yang Dingtian's chest. It was both vicious and cunning. Yang Dingtian actually stood there motionlessly, as if he had completely ignored the two's blade and sword. The skinny youth's sword was even faster. Like lightning, it ruthlessly pierced towards Yang Dingtian's chest. A burst of intense pain. However, no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't pierce through. The blade of the sword suddenly bent. Immediately, the two pirates were shocked. And at this moment, the pirate leader's ghost head blade also fiercely chopped towards Yang Dingtian's vital points. The third move of the pig-slaying swordsmanship, beheading. The sword in Yang Dingtian's hand fiercely chopped down. Ah! The pirate leader only felt his wrist turn cold. Then fresh blood violently spurted out. His wrist, along with the broken blade, directly flew out. After the skinny youth's complexion changed, the sharp sword in his hand trembled. Like a viper, it pierced towards Yang Dingtian's throat. Yang Dingtian's throat wasn't protected by the deep-sea Xian clothes. Among all the opponents that Yang Dingtian had encountered, the swordsmanship of the skinny youth before him should be the best. However, compared to Yang Dingtian, he was still far inferior. The sharp sword in Yang Dingtian's hand spun. The fourth move of the pig-slaying swordsmanship, digging out heart and lungs. Immediately, Yang Dingtian's sword coiled towards the skinny youth like a viper. Clang 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 clang. Countless times, the blades of the swords collided with each other. PFFF. Yang Dingtian's sword fiercely pierced through the skinny youth's sword net, and directly pierced into his left chest. Immediately, fresh blood violently spurted out. Yang Dingtian was about to continue to fiercely stab, and directly take the life of this skinny youth. Unexpectedly, Ling Wu, who was behind him, let out a miserable groan. She had been struck by the female pirate's blade. Yang Dingtian suddenly pulled Ling Wu away. Like lightning, he turned around to face the female pirate's blade, and fiercely chopped down. Clang! The female pirate's scimitar was directly chopped off and sent flying. Immediately after, Yang Dingtian fiercely stabbed his sword towards the female pirate's chest. That female pirate was startled as she used all her strength to dodge. However, she still wasn't able to dodge Yang Dingtian's sword, and her entire shoulder was directly pierced through. The sword in Yang Dingtian's hand fiercely trembled. Profound energy was suddenly spat out, and the female pirate was ruthlessly sent flying dozens of meters away. Ah! That female pirate suddenly let out a miserable shriek. Fresh blood violently spurted out, and she fiercely fell to a corner of the ship. It was unknown whether she was dead or alive. At this moment, the three ships had already approached. Countless hooks hooked onto Ling Wu's cargo ship. Hundreds of pirates climbed up like ants, and began to massacre the sailors on the ship. Miss Ling Wu, go and kill the pirate minions. Leave the rest of the pirate leaders to me, Yang Dingtian said. Yes, Ling Wu replied. Her delicate body suddenly sprung as she rushed towards the pirates that were swarming towards her. When Yang Dingtian turned around to save Ling Wu, that skinny youth from earlier had rapidly retreated dozens of meters away. He covered the wound on his chest as he looked at Yang Dingtian in disbelief. At this moment, the sharp sword in his hand had already been twisted into a ball of fried dough twist. In terms of profound energy cultivation, I'm not outstanding. However, in terms of sword techniques, I've yet to meet an opponent. You're the only one who can defeat me in terms of sword techniques. Who exactly are you? That skinny youth said coldly. It's not important who I am. However, the key point is that I know who you are. Yang Dingtian said coldly. You're the Northwest Qing clan's youth sword instructor, Zombie Sword Wang Luan. I didn't expect that you'd actually degenerate and impersonate a pirate. What future can I have by being an instructor for a child? Why don't I give it a shot? Zombie Sword Wang Luan said coldly. I'm afraid that I won't be able to have any future. Instead, I'm going to die here. Yang Dingtian said coldly. Not necessarily. Wang Luan said coldly. Qin Bao, let's join forces and use our profound skills to kill him. Wang Luan said coldly. So the pirate leader was called Qin Bao. He was indeed someone from the Northwest Qin clan. At this moment, Qin Bao's severed arm had already stopped bleeding. He looked at Yang Dingtian with eyes filled with endless hatred. A combined profound skill attack required an extremely high degree of compatibility. The two people in front of him were sworn brothers, and were as close as real brothers. Moreover, they had practiced countless times, which was why they were able to use a combined profound skill attack. Moreover, the power of a combined profound skill attack wasn't just 1 + 1 = 2. It was far more than that. Therefore, no great profound martial master in the world would be able to withstand the combined profound skill attack of two great profound martial masters. Immediately, Qin Bao's body swelled and emitted a fiery red light. As for Wang Luan, his entire body instantly turned ice blue. He looked even more like a zombie that crawled out from the ground. He suddenly roared. Immediately, a fire dragon burst out from Qin Bao's body. As for a frost dragon, it burst out from Wang Luan's body. The twin dragons of ice and fire intertwined and rotated in the air. Like a laser cannonball, they suddenly shot towards Yang Dingtian. As for Yang Dingtian, he still stood at his original position without moving. Don't! Ling Wu, who was currently killing pirates, let out a miserable cry. After that, she suddenly charged towards Yang Dingtian. However, it was very obvious that her speed was too late. The two enormous dragons of ice and fire ruthlessly struck Yang Dingtian's chest. In an instant, Yang Dingtian's entire body was engulfed by raging flames and frost-cold energy. His figure was completely invisible. Ha 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 ha. Qin Bao immediately laughed out loud. After that, he looked towards Ling Wu with an evil gaze and said, "Little beauty, your dear friend is already finished. Originally, I wanted to gift you to our young master. However, I'm injured today, so I can't make up for it. Therefore, you're mine to eat today." After he finished speaking, Qin Bao suddenly charged towards Ling Wu like a wild beast. As for Ling Wu, she stood at her original position in a daze. She looked at Yang Dingtian, who was engulfed in raging flames, and her face was filled with despair. "You're too impatient." Suddenly, Yang Dingtian's voice resounded in the air. Qin Bao was startled. He suddenly looked towards Yang Dingtian. After that, he was completely dumbstruck. He could only see that the frost-cold energy on Yang Dingtian's left side seemed to be engulfed by something all of a sudden. It decreased and disappeared at lightning speed. As for the raging flames on his right side, it had even turned into a ray of light and completely disappeared into Yang Dingtian's enormous sword. Yang Dingtian was wearing the deep-sea profound robe, which had a frightening defensive ability against profound skills. Moreover, he also had an ice attribute profound talisman on him, which just happened to engulf Wang Luan's enormous frost dragon completely. After that, Yang Dingtian clearly felt that there were some changes to this ice attribute jade talisman. Its color had slightly deepened. Although it was still an elementary profound talisman, compared to before, it already contained some ice attribute energy. "Lao-san, this guy is tricky. Let's go." Qin Bao was startled. He shouted loudly, and then turned around to escape. "You guys won't be able to leave." Yang Dingtian then activated his profound qi, and rushed towards the two of them. "Big brother, you go first. I'll cover you," Wang Luan said. "Good brother." Qin Bao's eyes turned hot as he said emotionally. He patted Wang Luan's shoulder, and was about to escape. But he didn't expect that just as his palm patted Wang Luan's shoulder, his entire body was completely unable to move. "Big brother, just die for me." Wang Luan laughed sinisterly. Then, he grabbed Qin Bao's body, and smashed him towards Yang Dingtian. "Wang Luan, fuck your mother." Qin Bao roared loudly. Then his entire body smashed towards Yang Dingtian. All of the profound qi in his body was immediately released. "Darling, let's die together." Then, Qin Bao burst out with all of his profound qi, and pounced towards Yang Dingtian. Whoosh 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 whoosh. Yang Dingtian's sword suddenly scattered out countless sword flowers, piercing Qin Bao's body that was flying over. Ah! An incomparably mournful howl sounded. Note. Chapter 182. Ah! An incomparably mournful and miserable howl resounded. Before Qin Bao could even approach Yang Dingtian, he was dismembered in the air and sent flying out into 8 pieces. As for Wang Luan, he didn't run away immediately. Instead, he actually grabbed Ling Wu at lightning speed. After which, he dragged her and jumped into the ocean at lightning speed. Ling Wu wasn't his match in the first place. Moreover, she thought that Yang Dingtian had been killed earlier. Therefore, she stood at her original spot in despair. Therefore, when Wang Luan placed his sword on her neck, she didn't have the slightest strength to retaliate. Even though Wang Luan hadn't been a pirate for long, his swimming ability was undoubtedly very good. Dragging Ling Wu along, he immediately escaped at lightning speed like a fish in the ocean. As he ran, he laughed heartily and said, "Kid, I've said that you can't kill me. This chick is also mine." In a short span of 10 seconds, he had already swam a few dozen meters away. Yang Dingtian quickly took out a water avoidance pearl and placed it in his mouth. After which he suddenly jumped into the ocean. It was as though he was walking on land as he chased after Wang Luan at lightning speed. Wang Luan was immediately shocked. He didn't expect that Yang Dingtian's speed in the water would actually be so astonishing. He was about to catch up to him immediately. He hurriedly hid behind Ling Wu and placed his sword on her neck. Then he smiled nastily at Yang Dingtian and said, "Brother, let me go. How about I let this chick go?" "All right. Let her go first. After that, I'll let you go," said Yang Dingtian. "That won't do. After I reach a safe place, I'll definitely let her go. There's no enmity between us. Why do you have to do this?" Wang Luan sneered. His gaze landed on Ling Wu's moving back. His eyes immediately revealed a greedy gaze. If they really reached a safe place, Ling Wu would probably suffer a fate worse than death. "That's impossible," Yang Dingtian said indifferently. "Don't you want this woman's life anymore?" Wang Luan smiled nastily and said, "As long as I give her a light chop, this beautiful head of hers will roll off and never to be reattached." After saying that, Wang Luan suddenly pressed down with his sharp blade. Immediately, a trace of blood flowed out from Ling Wu's neck. "I'll count to 3. Get back to the ship immediately. Otherwise, I'll kill this chick immediately. 1, 2. Yin Nantian, kill this bastard." Ling Wu shouted. "Little girl, shut up," Wang Luan said coldly. "Brother, do you really want to watch this woman die? Hurry up and get back to the ship," Wang Luan roared. "In your dreams," Yang Dingtian said indifferently. Wang Luan's face turned ferocious as he shouted, "Then I'll drag this little beauty down with me." "Ling Wu, close your eyes," Yang Dingtian suddenly shouted. 3. Wang Luan's blade fiercely slashed towards Ling Wu's neck. It seemed that Ling Wu was about to die. At the bottom of the water, Yang Dingtian suddenly opened his palm. Bang! Under the water, a huge bolt of lightning suddenly burst out. Lightning attribute profound skill, mountain split. Instantly, all of Wang Luan's movements were frozen. His entire body was instantly charred black. As for Ling Wu, who had her eyes closed, she only felt her entire delicate body go numb, and she instantly fainted. Yang Dingtian held his sword and rushed out like a bolt of lightning. He fiercely pulled Ling Wu to one side and aimed at Wang Luan, who was floating in the water. He raised his sword and slashed down ferociously. Suddenly, Wang Luan's body was cleaved into 2 by Yang Dingtian. Fresh blood dyed the seawater red. Yang Dingtian carried Ling Wu's unconscious body and swam back to the ship at lightning speed. Currently, Ling Wu was completely unconscious. Even though Yang Dingtian's bolt of lightning didn't strike her body, the electric energy that passed through the seawater still instantly suffocated her. Seeing that all 3 of their leaders had been killed, the remaining pirates didn't have the slightest bit of morale. They were chased and killed by the sailors who didn't have much martial arts, and jumped into the seawater to escape. At this moment, the sailors on the cargo ship were holding bows and arrows, shooting at the pirates on the surface of the water. Seeing Yang Dingtian carrying Ling Wu onto the ship, the sailors swarmed over one after another. "Thank you, Hero Yen, for saving our lives. Hero Yen is mighty. Hero Yen, how's our miss?" "Your miss is fine. She's just temporarily breathless," Yang Dingtian said. "Find a girl among you and come with me." "Can I? A girl walked out charmingly. She was holding a sword in her hand, and her face was stained with blood. She was the little girl who delivered fruits to Yang Dingtian previously. He didn't expect that she would actually be holding a sword. All right, Yang Dingtian said. That female pirate? Is she dead? Yang Dingtian asked. She's here, Hero Yen. She doesn't seem to be dead yet. We've tied her up, a sailor said. Then, he pushed the female pirate, who was tied up like a dumpling, over. Yang Dingtian carried the unconscious Ling Wu with one hand, and the female pirate with the other. Then he walked down to the cabin below the deck. Continued to shoot and kill these pirates. Every one of their hands is stained with the blood of innocent people. Yang Dingtian said. Yes. All the sailors shouted. Did you hear that? Lord Yen has instructed us to continue killing these pirates. Immediately, the numerous sailors picked up their bows and aimed at the pirates on the surface of the water, killing them one by one. After arriving at the cabin, Yang Dingtian placed Ling Wu on the ship. Go and loosen your young miss swimsuit slightly. It's too tight. She won't be able to breathe, Yang Dingtian said. Ah, yes. That maid was surprised at first. Then she immediately obeyed. She used a knife to cut a hole in the swimsuit on her back, making it less tight. Pinch your young miss nose. Then put your mouth to hers and inhale. After taking a few breaths, press on her chest. Yang Dingtian said. Oh yes, yes. Then, that maid hurriedly followed Yang Dingtian's orders. Perhaps she was too flustered, or perhaps she was doing something wrong. Even after a while of artificial respiration, Ling Wu still didn't recover her breathing. After pressing on her chest for a long time, there was still no heartbeat. All right, stand aside. I'll do it, Yang Dingtian said. Yes. The little maid hurriedly stepped aside as though she was liberated. However, she still looked at Ling Wu with concern. Yang Dingtian went forward and pinched Ling Wu's nose. Then he forcefully inhaled. After he finished inhaling, he forcefully pressed on the area above her heart. However, Ling Wu still didn't breathe and didn't have a heartbeat. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but become anxious. She might die if she didn't have a heartbeat or breath for too long. Perhaps the energy of the electric current earlier was too strong. Ling Wu's body was completely unable to withstand it. Turn around, Yang Dingtian said to that little maid. Yes. That little maid hurriedly turned around. She even forcefully closed her eyes. It was very obvious that this little maid had thought too much. It was just that Yang Dingtian wanted to execute the lightning art and couldn't let her see it. Yang Dingtian closed his eyes and began to brew an extremely weak profound energy. Then he organized it into the lightning attribute profound skill mountain split. Pow! A weak bolt of lightning struck on the area above Ling Wu's heart. That's right. This was the primal chaos realm's version of lightning. Ling Wu trembled slightly and didn't wake up. Yang Dingtian slightly increased the energy, and another bolt of lightning struck down. Immediately, a faint scorch mark was left on Ling Wu's skin. Ling Wu's delicate body bounced up and then fell back down. Yang Dingtian placed his ear on the area above her heart. Sure enough, a weak heartbeat was restored. However, there was still no breath. Then he inhaled again in succession. After doing it a few times in succession, Ling Wu's eyes finally opened as she slowly woke up. Miss, you've woken up. That little maid immediately turned around and said in pleasant surprise. Then she hurriedly said, Don't misunderstand. Great hero Yen did it to save you. He's really amazing. You weren't breathing, and your heartbeat was also gone. Yet, he still managed to save you. I know. Ling Wu's face reddened. She said in a low voice, Thank you, Yen Nantian. You're welcome. Yang Dingtian turned around. At this moment, Ling Wu recalled what had happened in the sea earlier. She could clearly feel that the scoundrel Wang Luan's sword was about to cut her neck. After that, Yen Nantian asked her to close her eyes. Then her body went numb, and she didn't know anything. At the instant she fainted, she even thought that she was dead. She didn't expect that Yen Nantian would actually save her. After putting on her clothes, Ling Wu walked to the front of Yang Dingtian. Then, she bowed in a very formal manner. Ling Wu thanks Big Brother Yen for saving the lives of several hundred of us. She indeed didn't expect that a person she had casually picked up would actually be so powerful. He killed the pirate leaders consecutively and saved the lives of most of the people on the ship. Miss Ling Wu, you're welcome, Yang Dingtian said. Then, Yang Dingtian said to that little maid and Ling Wu, I'm going to interrogate this female pirate next. The scene might be more brutal. Both of you can leave now. Oh yes. Ling Wu and the little maid immediately walked out of the cabin and closed the door while they were at it. Yang Dingtian took a basin of water and poured it directly on the female pirate's head. In an instant, that female pirate's delicate body suddenly trembled as she woke up. You're not a pirate. Who exactly are you? Yang Dingtian asked coldly. That female pirate spat out a mouthful of water. Then her beautiful eyes shot a glance at Yang Dingtian as she spoke in a delicate voice. It doesn't matter who I am. The key is who are you? Yang Dingtian's expression changed as he sneered and said, I am Yang Dingtian. Don't change the topic. No, you are Yang Dingtian. That female pirate spoke in a hoarse voice. Yang Dingtian, I have been wanting to sleep with you for a long time, because you had beaten Qin Xiaobai into a cripple. Yang Dingtian was suddenly startled. How did this female pirate in front of him recognize that he was Yang Dingtian? This was completely impossible. She wasn't an absolute expert like Dugu Fengwu. How was it possible for her to recognize that he was Yang Dingtian? Note. Chapter 183. Wang Luan stabbed your chest just now, but he couldn't pierce your skin at all. I didn't see you wearing any mystic iron silk treasure clothes either. The female pirate said indifferently. In Cloud Heaven City, you fought Tang Li and Qin Xiaobai, and you were invulnerable. That's why people said you were wearing the legendary Deep Sea Xian clothes. There might only be one Deep Sea Xian clothes in the world, so if you aren't Yang Dingtian, who are you? Yang Dingtian took a deep breath. This was indeed a flaw. Who exactly are you? Why do you know so much about Yang Dingtian? Yang Dingtian said coldly. The girl giggled and looked up. Take a good look. Don't you find my face familiar? It was very familiar, but he couldn't quite remember. When you and Shiman Ningming passed by the Qin family's territory and the abyssal town, the female pirate reminded. You are Qin Hongmian? Yang Dingtian suddenly asked. You finally remembered. You only saw Shiman Ningming pretending to be me. You didn't really see me, so you can't remember, the female pirate said. Yang Dingtian was puzzled. You are a branch of the Qin family, the young mistress of the Crimson Stone Castle. How did you end up pretending to be a pirate? It's all because of the sins you committed, Qin Hongmian sneered. Qin Xiaobai was completely destroyed in your hands, so that tyrant of the Qin family vented his anger on countless people. I was one of them, but I'm already considered good. Qin Xiaobai's mother, Yang Shishir, has already been chased out to sing. She was almost forced to be a prostitute. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but be shocked. The Qin family's patriarch was actually so ruthless and heartless to his own wife. Since you have already spoken, then let's just finish it, Yang Dingtian said. Why did you pretend to be the Black Blood Cavalry and commit crimes? What happened to Black Blood Castle? You still don't know? Qin Hongmian glanced at Yang Dingtian and said, Shiman Lai's Black Blood Cavalry has long abandoned the Black Blood Castle. They have been wandering in the northwest continent for more than half a year. Otherwise, who would believe us if we impersonate the Black Blood Cavalry, to do evil from a few thousand miles away? What? Yang Dingtian was shocked and said, Didn't I not lose Black Blood Castle after my battle with Qin Xiaobai? We didn't lose it at that time, but the soldiers of Qin City kept coming and besieged the Black Blood Castle. The two sides were in a deadlock for half a month. Furthermore, the parasitic poison in Madame Shiman's body flared up. Shiman Ju went to Black Blood Castle to negotiate with Shiman Lai. They were willing to hand over the antidote to Madame Shiman's parasitic poison. In exchange, Shiman Lai had to lead the Black Blood Cavalry out of Black Blood Castle unconditionally, Qin Hongmian said. In order to save Madame Shiman's life, and the Black Blood Castle is indeed in a desperate situation, Shiman Lai agreed. From that day onwards, they withdrew from Black Blood Castle and wandered around the northwest continent. They didn't have a fixed residence for half a year, and were chased out by countless factions. Ah! Before Yang Dingtian finished listening, Yang Dingtian suddenly roared and smashed the table beside him into pieces. Once he thought about Madame Shimin and Shimin, Lai leading the Black Blood Cavalry to wander around, Yang Dingtian's heart felt like it was being stabbed by a knife. Qin Hongmian chuckled and said, Yang Dingtian, Black Blood Castle has been lost. Now you don't even have a place to stay. Yang Dingtian quickly calmed down and sneered. It doesn't matter. After I take back Cloud Heaven City, Black Blood Castle will be even less of a problem. There are less than 8 months to take back Cloud Heaven City. Are you dreaming? Do you know how powerful Shimanju is? Qin Hongmian sneered and said. Yang Dingtian ignored her words and directly asked, Madame Shimin was poisoned with parasite. How did this happen? When did it happen? It's all because of that bastard Qin Xiaobai. He coveted Madame Shimin. Not long after he arrived at Cloud Heaven City, he secretly poisoned her with parasite. His original plan was to kill you and let the parasite take effect on Madame Shimin. Then, he would take the opportunity to dominate her. Qin Hongmian sneered and said, But who would have thought that before his dream could come true, he would be beaten into a cripple by you? Yang Dingtian wasn't interested in an enemy that was already dead. He directly asked, on Black Blood Island, who was the pirate leader that pretended to be me? The illegitimate son of the Qin clan, Qin Huaiju. Qin Hongmian said, a pitiful and shameless person. How is his cultivation? Yang Dingtian asked. 1-star martial mystic. You aren't his match. Qin Hongmian sneered and said, he has already pretended to be you and killed hundreds and thousands of people. He has also kidnapped hundreds of innocent women. You are now notorious. 1-star martial mystic expert was 6 levels higher than Yang Dingtian. More importantly, he was fighting above his level. Yang Dingtian still couldn't use lightning-attributed mystic skills. Even though it was a little difficult, Yang Dingtian was still filled with confidence to defeat him. Moreover, this bastard must be eliminated. Otherwise, he wouldn't know how many people he would harm by pretending to be him. Whether I am his match or not, it's not up to you to decide. After I kill him, I will send you to the underworld to accompany him. Yang Dingtian said coldly. Then, he suddenly struck her with his palm and directly knocked her unconscious. At this moment, a series of hurried footsteps suddenly came from outside. Ling Wu said, Big Brother Yen, we found a few captives on the pirate ship. They said that they are from Cloud Heaven City's Black Blood Castle. They also said that this group of pirates is impersonating their Black Blood Castle to do evil. Yang Dingtian was suddenly startled. Then he said, bring them in. He took a deep breath. If they were really people from Black Blood Castle, didn't that mean that Madame Shimin and Big Brother Shimin Lai were nearby? Moreover, even if they were ordinary soldiers of the Black Blood Cavalry, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but view them as brothers in his heart. Very quickly, 4 brothers of the Black Blood Cavalry were brought over. Then, without waiting for Yang Dingtian's instructions, Ling Wu left the cabin and closed the door. These 4 brothers of the Black Blood Cavalry were all injured. It was very obvious that they had suffered torment in the hands of that group of pirates. They should be the brothers of the Black Blood Cavalry. Although Yang Dingtian couldn't remember their faces, the Black Blood Cavalry had a special flag. They looked like soldiers and didn't look like martial artists. Suppressing the urge to hug them, Yang Dingtian asked, how many of you are there? What are you doing in this sea region? A few brothers of the Black Blood Cavalry stepped forward and bowed. We are the Black Blood Cavalry. We thank this hero for saving our lives. We have a total of over 20 brothers. This time we are here for 2 missions. First, we heard that there are pirates impersonating our Black Blood Cavalry and committing evil deeds everywhere. Commander Shimin sent us to investigate. Second, there are rumors that the hidden sect's disciple, young Lord Wu Ming, had once come to West Arrival Island to cultivate. Therefore, Madam specially sent us to search for him and ask young Lord Wu Ming to head to Cloud Heaven City to uphold justice. Yang Dingtian's heart skipped a beat as he asked, what justice? That brother of the Black Blood Cavalry revealed a furious expression as he said, Shimanju, Yang Yan, and the other thieves slandered young Lord Yang Dingtian, as an infiltrator of evil ways. They said that he used the evil soul art to defeat Qin Xiaobai. Therefore, they held a meeting in the Tiando League and prepared to cancel young Lord Yang Dingtian's qualification to participate in tomorrow's City Lord Martial competition. Furthermore, they wanted to order the Tiando League to hunt down and kill young Lord Yang Dingtian. Instantly, Yang Dingtian was enraged. This group of bastards really wanted to kill him. It seemed like he had to make a trip to Cloud Heaven City. Hero Yen, I heard that your ship came from the direction of West Arrival Island. Have you seen or heard of young Lord Wu Ming's whereabouts? The brother of the Black Blood Cavalry asked. I heard that Wu Ming had already left West Arrival Island a long time ago. Yang Dingtian continued. However, if he really is a disciple of the hidden sect, then he will definitely uphold justice for you. Then, Yang Dingtian instinctively wanted to ask how Madame Shimin and Shimin Lai were doing. He almost asked, but he quickly stopped himself because Yen Nantian didn't even know them. How could he ask about them? Thank you for your kind words, Hero Yen, the brother of the Black Blood Cavalry said. We still have important things to do. May I ask if Hero Yen can give us a small boat? We still have more than a dozen brothers who have been captured and imprisoned in Black Blood Island. Their lives are at stake. We have to rush to the northwest mainland with the fastest speed and gather all the brothers nearby to go to Black Blood Island to rescue our brothers. How many brothers do you have in total around here? Yang Dingtian asked. A total of more than 100, the brother of the Black Blood Cavalry said. One group is at sea, a total of 30. The other group is on land, about 100. That's great. Yang Dingtian continued. I'm also preparing to go to Black Blood Island to eliminate the evil thief who impersonated Yang Dingtian. Follow me to Fire Island first, then I'll give you a fast boat. Go to the mainland with the fastest speed and gather all the brothers here. In at most 2 or 3 days, we'll kill our way to Black Blood Island and kill all those bastards to rescue your brothers. Thank you so much, the brother of the Black Blood Cavalry said excitedly. Hero Yen is really chivalrous. It's a pity that our commander isn't here. Young Master Yang Dingtian isn't here either. Otherwise, you would definitely become good friends. At this moment, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but ask. I have a question, but I don't know if I should ask. Please ask, the brother of the Black Blood Cavalry said. Because of Yang Dingtian, all of you have to wander around and drift from place to place. Do you regret it? Yang Dingtian asked. No, how can we regret it? The eyes of the Black Blood Cavalry instantly revealed a radiance of faith. He said passionately, our young master Yang Dingtian is the #1 genius in the world. We are now in the darkness before nirvana. Tomorrow, young master Yang Dingtian will lead us to kill our way back to Cloud Heaven City and take back what is ours. Once he said that, Yang Dingtian's eyes instantly became hot, and his heart surged with emotions. Although he had never seen these brothers in front of him before, they believed in him very much and were willing to sacrifice their lives for him. Yang Dingtian turned around and didn't let them see his excited expression. He said, then all of you go and rest for a while. When we reach Fire Island, all of you will immediately depart to the mainland. Thank you, Hero Yen. Instantly, the 4 brothers of the Black Blood Cavalry left. Chapter 184. After more than 2 hours of sailing, the cargo ship docked at the pier of Inferno Island. Inferno Island was a barren island with an area of more than 10 square kilometers. It couldn't grow any food and could only rely on sea trade. There were 2,000 to 3,000 people living on the island. However, most of them were ordinary people. There were also many elderly and children. Therefore, it could only be considered as a very small force. It was no wonder that they were pressured by the Black Blood Island to the point that they couldn't breathe. At a glance, the entire island was indeed not prosperous and wealthy. Most of the houses were also old. When the night and the cargo ship were still more than 10 kilometers away from the pier, many people on the island were already waiting anxiously. When the cargo ship approached, the people on the island immediately cheered. It was very obvious that they had been looking forward to Ling Wu's ship for a very long time. Furthermore, when they saw that the ship had returned safely, The stone in their hearts could finally be put down. However, when the ship docked at the pier, they discovered that dozens of people were missing. The pier immediately burst into cries again. When the ship had just docked at the pier, Ling Wu jumped down impatiently and ran towards an old man on the pier. That old man was already unable to move. He could only sit on a chair and be carried by 4 young men. He should be Ling Wu's father. All the meridians in his body had been broken by that bastard Qin Huaijiu. Father. Ling Wu immediately knelt on the ground and threw herself into the embrace of that old man. It's good that you've returned safely. It's good that you've returned. That old man immediately burst into tears and said, "It's all father's fault for being useless. I've made a girl like you travel thousands of kilometers on a ship and take risks on the sea. As long as father can recover, I'm willing to do anything." Ling Wu cried. Following that old man discovered traces of a battle on the ship and the corpses that were carried down from the ship. His complexion immediately changed as he said, "Wu, did you encounter that group of bastards on the sea?" Ling Wu nodded and said, "We met them today." That old man said while trembling, Then how did you escape?" "It's a big brother called Yin Nantian. He killed that group of bastards and saved everyone on the ship. He also saved my life," Ling Wu said. At this moment, Yang Dingtian had also disembarked from the ship. Ling Wu hurriedly came over and pulled his hand as she walked to the front of the elder. "Father, this is Hero Yin Nantian, who had saved this daughter's life." Immediately, the old man tried his best to stand up from the chair and salute Yang Dingtian. But he couldn't do it and almost fell to the ground. "Daughter, help your father up. I want to thank Hero Yen for saving my life," said the old man. Yang Dingtian hurriedly said, "Uncle, you don't have to be so courteous. Everyone has the right to punish those evil thieves. This is what I should do." However, that old man still bowed to Yang Dingtian with Ling Wu's support. Yang Dingtian hurriedly returned an even more respectful bow. That night, Yang Dingtian became the most honored guest on the island. Although the resources on the island were very tight, they still held a sumptuous banquet for Yang Dingtian. Everyone came to propose a toast to Yang Dingtian. Everyone looked at Yang Dingtian with gratitude. Some women even brought their children to kowtow to Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian drank more and more. In the end, he was drunk to the point that his eyes were blurred and his footsteps staggered. It had been over 100 days since he had eaten a proper meal or drunk a single drop of wine. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, the banquet dispersed. Island Master Ling Zhong accompanied Yang Dingtian to drink tea. "All right, all of you can leave now. I have something to say to Hero Yen." After that, all the servants and maids left and closed the door. After that, only Ling Zhong, Yang Dingtian and Ling Wu were left in the room. Immediately, the atmosphere in the room became slightly strange. Yang Dingtian felt a strange feeling. He could only lower his head and drink his tea quietly. Ling Wu obviously felt this strange aura as well. Her face turned red. She lowered her head and didn't say anything as she poured tea for Yang Dingtian and her father. Ling Zhong suddenly raised his head and stared at Yang Dingtian for a long time. Immediately, Yang Dingtian felt unnatural from his stare. "Mr. Yen, what do you think of my daughter's appearance?" Ling Zhong suddenly asked. When these words were spoken, Ling Wu's face and ears immediately turned red. She was charming and alluring. However, her bold gaze still looked at Yang Dingtian, as if she was waiting for his answer. Yang Dingtian's heart skipped a beat. He said, "1 in a million." "Then, what do you think of my daughter's temperament?" Ling Zhong asked again. "Generous, brave, dignified and virtuous." Yang Dingtian said. "Then does Hero Yin like my daughter?" Ling Zhong asked. "With Miss Ling's character, who wouldn't like her?" Yang Dingtian said. When these words were spoken, Ling Wu's beautiful eyes immediately lit up. Her face also appeared even more charming. "Then, how about this old man betroth my daughter to Mr. Yen? Although my Inferno Island has declined, it still has a few thousand people. In any case, it's still a foundation. If you marry my daughter, all of this will belong to you. Moreover, no matter if it's this island or your children in the future, their surname will be Yen and not Ling. How about it?" Ling Zhong said. After that, he looked at young Dingtian with a burning gaze. At this moment, even though Ling Wu was extremely shy, she was also waiting for young Dingtian's reply with her big beautiful eyes. Her beautiful eyes were filled with anticipation and nervousness. She was truly a cute and bold girl. "I'm really overwhelmed by your favor," young Dingtian said. Before he could finish his words, Ling Wu's beautiful eyes immediately revealed boundless joy and a trace of tenderness. Ling Zhong also said impatiently, "Then Mr. Yin has agreed." Young Dingtian said, "It's a pity that I already have a wife. Moreover, she has deep feelings for me. I can't let her down. Otherwise, I would have taken the initiative to pursue Miss Ling long ago." When young Dingtian said these words, Ling Wu's beautiful face suddenly turned deathly pale. After that, tears almost gushed out from her eyes. Ling Zhong's body trembled. After looking at young Dingtian for a long time, he sighed and said, "So be it. It's my daughter who doesn't have good fortune." After that, the room fell into an awkward silence. A few minutes later, Ling Zhong smiled and said, "It's already late. Mr. Yin should be tired by now. We've already prepared a good guest room. You should have a good rest. Tomorrow, I'll let my daughter take you on a tour around my Inferno Island." "Uncle," young Dingtian said. After that, he left this place as if he was escaping. This should be the best room on the island. In fact, everything was new. Inferno Island had indeed treated young Dingtian as the most distinguished guest. Not long after young Dingtian entered the room, a maid prepared a tub full of hot water for him to take a bath. After taking off his clothes, young Dingtian comfortably lay down in the hot water, enjoying a rare moment of shyness. Just when young Dingtian was lying in the bathtub so comfortably that he was about to fall asleep, a series of light footsteps came from behind him. It should be the maid who was specially in charge of serving him. "It's already late. You don't have to serve me anymore. Quickly go to sleep," young Dingtian said with his eyes closed. However, a chuckle came from behind him. Young Dingtian was shocked. He hurriedly opened his eyes and discovered that it was actually Ling Wu. Her slender and hot body appeared incomparably moving under the light. Her beautiful little face was also flushed red, appearing tender and alluring. "Miss Ling Yu." Young Dingtian was so shocked that he stood up abruptly. Ling Wu suddenly clenched her teeth and pounced over. Her arms tightly wrapped around young Dingtian. "Yin Nantian, I like you. I want to marry you." Ling Wu's little mouth was filled with the smell of alcohol. The words she spoke were hot, and so was the breath she exhaled. Young Dingtian tried to pry her arms away slightly. However, her arms were extremely strong. Young Dingtian was afraid of hurting her, so he didn't dare to forcefully pry her arms away. "Miss Ling, I've already said that I have a wife," young Dingtian said. "I don't believe you. That's just an excuse," Ling Wu said. "Who wouldn't be moved by a beauty like you?" Young Dingtian sighed and said, "However, I really have a wife. I owe her a lot. She's suffering because of me. I can't let her down." Perhaps she had heard young Dingtian's deep feelings. Ling Wu's beautiful eyes looked at young Dingtian for a long time. Finally, she confirmed that what young Dingtian said was true. Immediately, the blurriness in her beautiful eyes gradually faded away. After that, she smiled sadly and said, "Then Ling Wu really doesn't have this blessing." Young Dingtian said gently, "You're so beautiful and cute. You'll definitely be able to find your ideal husband." "It's too late, big brother Yen," Ling Wu said with a sad expression. "That evil thief on Black Blood Island has already given my family an ultimatum. If I don't deliver myself to him within 3 days, he'll bring his men and kill everyone on Inferno Island." Following that, Ling Wu's beautiful eyes became hot as she said, "I don't care if you have a wife. I like you. 3 days later, I'll let that evil thief obtain a corpse." "Miss Ling, listen carefully." Young Dingtian held her face and said, "That evil thief won't be able to live past 3 days. 2 days later, I'll gather my men and kill everyone on Black Blood Island. We'll kill everyone on that group of bastards." Ling Wu was stunned for a moment. After that, she shook her head and said, "No, they have the advantage in numbers. Moreover, that evil thief's martial arts are very high. You're not his match." They have the advantage in numbers, but so do we. You'll see our helpers coming in an endless stream very soon, Yang Dingtian said. Moreover, we'll only know if I'm that evil thief's match after we fight. In short, I'll definitely not leave until I kill that bastard. Ling Wu looked at Yang Dingtian for a long time and said, So what if you kill that evil thief? My father will leave this world very soon. The man I like doesn't like me. What's the point of me living? Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and said, Miss Ling Wu, maybe, I can save your father. However, I can only try. I can't guarantee that I'll succeed. Note, brothers, I beg for a few monthly votes. Chapter 185. Really? Ling Wu's beautiful eyes were filled with incomparable surprise as she said, As long as you can save my father, I'm willing to pay any price. Then she said embarrassedly, However, I don't have anything that can catch your eye. As long as you don't seduce me to make a mistake and don't test my willpower, I'll be very grateful. Yang Dingtian said. All right, I'll leave immediately. Ling Wu let go of Yang Dingtian. You must save my father tomorrow. Then, she ran out like a butterfly. The next morning, Ling Wu ran to Yang Dingtian's room and pulled him up from the bed before the sun had even risen. Quickly go and treat my father. Yang Dingtian woke up with sleepy eyes. Then he washed up and dressed under her service. When he arrived at the hall, he immediately saw Ling Zhong sitting there neatly dressed. He couldn't help but be slightly stunned. Uncle Ling, you're early. It was really early. If it was converted to Earth's time, it wasn't even 5 o'clock in the morning. Ling Zhong smiled embarrassedly. Yang Dingtian realized that his eyes were red, his expression was excited, and he was incomparably nervous. When he looked at Ling Wu again, it was the same. Then Yang Dingtian said, The two of you couldn't have not slept for the entire night, right? Immediately, Ling Zhong's smile became even more embarrassed as he said, Initially, I didn't want Wu to wake you up so early. However, she really couldn't hold it in. This father and daughter pair actually didn't sleep, and sat for the entire night waiting for Yang Dingtian to wake up to treat Ling Zhong. At once, Yang Dingtian felt that the burden on his shoulders was very heavy. Ling Zhong sighed and said, I've really embarrassed myself in front of you. It's not that I want to live an ignoble life, but I really can't bear to part with my daughter. I really can't bear to let her bear this heavy burden. If I don't see her get married and have children, I really won't be able to rest in peace even if I die. After he finished speaking, Ling Zhong's tears flowed down his face as he sobbed. I can understand, Yang Dingtian said. However, I can only say that I'll try my best. I really can't guarantee that I'll succeed. Yang Dingtian really couldn't guarantee. The thing he wanted to use to save Ling Zhong was, of course, the holy water he stole from the Five Elements Hall's secret realm. He originally wanted to steal it for Yin Yan, but seeing Ling Zhong in such a state, he couldn't bear to leave him in the lurch. However, he really didn't dare to guarantee that this holy water would still be effective after leaving the mystic realm. If it really was ineffective, then Ling Zhong and his daughter would really fall from heaven to hell. As long as Mr. does his best, this Ling will be eternally grateful. Ling Zhong said, Even if there's only a 1% chance, it's still worth our boundless joy. Ling Wu's beautiful eyes turned red as she said, Mister, please start the treatment. Regardless of whether you succeed or not, you are the greatest benefactor of our Ling clan. Okay, Yang Dingtian said. Miss Ling, please prepare a bucket of water. Don't put anything in it. Yes, I'll go right away. After Ling Wu finished listening, she immediately flew out. Not long after, she came in with a large wooden bucket filled with clear water. She carried something that weighed a few hundred kilograms by herself. Give me a bowl, Yang Dingtian said. What kind of bowl? Jade, gold, or crystal stone? Ling Wu asked. At this moment, she felt that it was better to use something that was more precious. No need. Just an ordinary one will do, Yang Dingtian said. All right, I'll go get it right away. After Ling Wu finished speaking, she flew out again. Very soon, she came in with a pile of bowls. There were bowls of all shapes and sizes. Yang Dingtian smiled bitterly at once. Then he casually picked up a bowl. After that, he fished out an elixir from his bosom and placed it into the bowl. Of course, this was just an ordinary Holy Spirit elixir. It was only used to deceive others. However, at this moment, Ling Zhong and his daughter's eyes were fixed on Yang Dingtian's actions. That tense situation made them feel as though they were about to suffocate. Yang Dingtian placed the bowl in his sleeve. After that, he scooped out a small half bowl of holy water from his spatial ring. He had probably only stolen a basin. Therefore, he could only give him a small half bowl. The rest was left for Yin Yin. That elixir dissolved in the holy water very quickly. After that, Yang Dingtian passed it to Ling Zhong and said, "Uncle Ling, drink half of this medicine and soak half of it." Ling Wu was slightly surprised at once and said, It's just that simple." She had originally thought that it would be extremely complicated and mysterious. She didn't expect it to be so simple. "Yes, it's just that simple," Yang Dingtian said with a smile. Ling Zhong received the bowl with trembling hands. His breathing became incomparably hurried, and his lips were also trembling. He used all his strength to stop his hands from trembling so badly. He was afraid that he would spill even a little bit of this incomparably precious medicine. After that, he used the last of his strength to open his mouth and drink this medicine bit by bit. He drank half of it with incomparable care. After that, he passed the bowl to Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian poured the rest of the medicine directly into the clear water and said, "Uncle Ling, soak in it for a while. We should be able to see the result in 15 minutes. If it's effective, then it's effective. If it's ineffective, then there's nothing I can do." Okay, Ling Zhong said with a trembling voice. After that, Yang Dingtian went forward, carried Ling Zhong, and placed him into the clear water with the medicine. He was really skinny. He was completely bony. His body was 180 centimeters tall, yet he seemed to only weigh 80 to 90 kilograms. He was practically all skin and bones. It could be seen how serious his injuries were at that time. All of this was the fault of that fake Yang Dingtian. After soaking in the medicine, Ling Wu became incomparably nervous. Even her breathing had become abnormal. Her beautiful eyes stared fixedly at her father. Not even half a minute had passed before she hurriedly asked, "Father, how do you feel?" "Silly girl, how can it be so fast?" Ling Zhong said with a trembling voice. 3 minutes later, Ling Wu asked again, "Father, how do you feel?" "Silly girl, how can it be so fast?" Ling Zhong replied. 8 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Ling Zhong didn't change at all. There wasn't any improvement. Ling Wu's expression became more and more fearful. Her little face became more and more pale. Ling Zhong's smile became more and more bitter. On the other hand, Yang Dingtian's heart became more and more cold. Could it be that the holy water was really useless after leaving the secret realm? Please don't be like this, okay? Lan Ling really couldn't bear to see the disappointment of the person in front of her. Half an hour later, Ling Wu had almost given up hope. She asked with a sobbing voice, "Father, how do you feel?" At this moment, Ling Zhong had already gotten over it completely. He smiled faintly and said, "Silly girl, what's there to cry about? As long as you're fine." Immediately, Ling Wu started to cry. Yang Dingtian was also sad in his heart. He bowed deeply and said, "Uncle Ling, Miss Ling, I'm sorry." "What are you saying?" Ling Zhong laughed and said, "Life and death are up to the heavens. I'm already incomparably grateful that Mr. has tried his best to save me." "That's right." Ling Wu smiled at Yang Dingtian and said, "Big brother Yin clearly knows that the chances are slim, yet he's still willing to give it a try. He's even used up an incomparably precious medicine. Ling Wu is truly incomparably grateful. Just like what father said, all of this is fate." Ah! Right at this moment, Ling Zhong suddenly cried out in surprise. "So hot, so hot." Then, under Ling Wu's and Yang Dingtian's incomparably pleasantly surprised gazes, a red light rapidly spread throughout Ling Zhong's entire body. Immediately after, under Yang Dingtian's and Ling Wu's even more astonished and incredulous gazes, Ling Zhong actually became younger at a speed visible to the naked eye. His old muscles became rosy and lustrous. Boundless vitality and strength rapidly recovered within his body. This holy water is actually so miraculous? Wah! Ling Wu, who was incomparably pleasantly surprised, actually cried out directly. Then, she suddenly turned around and pounced toward Yang Dingtian. She hugged Yang Dingtian tightly and completely ignored Ling Zhong's presence. Her small mouth fiercely kissed Yang Dingtian's lips. Thank you, big brother Yan. This holy water was indeed incomparably miraculous. In just a few short hours, Ling Zhong's injuries had actually completely healed. His originally unbearably old body actually seemed to have become younger by 20 to 30 years. He looked like he was in his 40s. He had completely recovered his previous heroic and extraordinary appearance. Not only that, his profound energy and martial arts were actually recovering rapidly as well. This effect was completely better than what he had expected. That day, all the meridians in Ling Zhong's body were broken. Such a fatal injury actually only required half a bowl of holy water to completely heal him. Didn't that mean that Yin Yan would also be able to recover completely? After recovering, Ling Zhong's first sentence was, "Wu you must not speak of today's matter. Otherwise, it will bring endless trouble to Mr. Yan." Ling Wu nodded heavily and said, "Don't worry, father. I'd rather die than let Mr. Yan fall into a dangerous situation." Hearing Ling Wu's words, Ling Zhong was slightly startled. This daughter of his seemed to have fallen deeply. After Ling Zhong recovered, Yang Dingtian began to speed up the arrangements for the annihilation of the Black Blood Island within 2 to 3 days. In the afternoon after Ling Zhong recovered, the brothers of the Black Blood Cavalry actually arrived one after another. Because they were spread out rather widely, they couldn't all arrive at once. After the brothers of the Black Blood Cavalry arrived, Ling Zhong and Ling Wu's morale immediately soared. This was because the Black Blood Cavalry clearly carried a strong military aura. They were completely powerful helpers. With this, they had more confidence in taking down the Black Blood Island within 2 days. At night, Yang Dingtian, Ling Wu, Ling Zhong, and a few officers of the Black Blood Cavalry began to carry out the battle deployment. What was drawn on the wall was the schematic diagram of the Black Blood Island. This was something that Ling Zhong had obtained after paying a huge price. However, with this diagram, a lot of information became clear. Only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you win 100 battles. Note, brothers, please give me a few monthly tickets. Chapter 186. In the end, what disappointed Yang Dingtian was that this Black Blood Island was actually easy to defend and hard to attack. The surroundings were filled with towering cliffs and precipitous rock faces, and there was only one way to enter. The two sides of that place were completely filled with precipitous rock faces that could only allow 3 people to pass through side by side. This wasn't just easy to defend and hard to attack. It was simply a case of one man holding the pass while 10,000 men couldn't pass through. It seemed like it wouldn't work to bring men to attack the island, as that would only be courting death. Have a decisive battle on the sea. Gather dozens of ships, and have a decisive battle on the sea. Yang Dingtian pointed at the schematic map on the wall and spoke ruthlessly. Instantly, the few people below were slightly startled as they felt strange, but they didn't dare to voice out their doubts. The one who spoke was still Dugu Fengwu as she said, "Big brother Yan, we might not have any chance of winning a decisive battle on land. However, it is even more difficult to have a decisive battle on the sea, because they have more ships than us in terms of quantity and quality. Furthermore, they are pirates and are experts in naval battles. We are at a greater disadvantage on the sea." Once Ling Wu said this, the others immediately nodded in succession. "Don't worry, I have a secret weapon," Yang Dingtian said. "In the remaining 1 or 2 days, prepare a large amount of charcoal, white flint and ardent sulfur crystals." Yang Dingtian listed dozens of items before he said, "I have great use for these items." After that, Yang Dingtian said again, "In addition, send men to forge dozens of special wooden machines in the next 2 days. I will draw out the specific structure in a while. You just have to forge according to the blueprint." Even though everyone still had doubts in their hearts, they still responded loudly. Yes. 2 days later, everything was prepared. A few hundred sets of secret weapons had been made, and dozens of large-scale wooden machines had also been forged. Over 100 brothers of the Black Blood Cavalry had also arrived. At this moment, the envoys of the Black Blood Island had boarded the Inferno Island and were incomparably arrogant. "I am here to bring someone. Quickly wash your young lady Ling Wu clean and send her onto the ship. The ship must be filled with gold coins, and let me bring her along to the Black Blood Island. Otherwise, when my Black Blood army arrives, I will definitely not spare even the chickens and dogs of the Inferno Island." Once these words were spoken, the brothers of the Black Blood Cavalry were about to explode with anger. "Seize them!" Yang Dingtian gave the order. Immediately, dozens of warriors from the Inferno Island stepped forward and captured all of the messengers. The emissary of the Black Blood Island was shocked and angry. He said coldly, "Don't you want to live? How dare you be so rude to us? Aren't you afraid that our young master Yang Dingtian will tear you into pieces? Open your mouth," Yang Dingtian said sternly. Suddenly, the brothers of the Black Blood Cavalry couldn't hold it in any longer. They took out an iron ruler and fiercely swung it at the arrogant messenger. Ah! Ah! Instantly, a wave of tragic wailing and howling could be heard. In just a moment, all of the emissary's teeth flew out. His entire head swelled up like a pig's head, and his cheeks were completely mangled. The other messengers were trembling and almost wetting their pants. They knelt before Yang Dingtian and kowtowed to beg for mercy. "Behead him as a sacrifice," Yang Dingtian ordered. Immediately, the messengers, as well as Qin Hongmian, who had been captured earlier, were pushed to their knees on the ground. The few of them were horrified. Other than Qin Hongmian, who couldn't make a sound, the others screamed and peed in their pants. "How dare you? My young master will tear all of you men into pieces and make your family members suffer a fate worse than death. Kill!" Yang Dingtian ordered. Immediately, the blade light flew out and blood spurted out. A few heads flew out. "Board the ships." With this order, more than 100 brothers of the Black Blood Cavalry and more than 300 warriors of the Inferno Island boarded the dozens of ships. Even Ling Zhong, who had just recovered, insisted on boarding the ships. Yang Dingtian boarded the largest flagship. The dozens of ships carried hundreds of secret weapons and dozens of large wooden machines. They majestically charged towards the Black Blood Island. The Black Blood Island master Qin Huaiju, who was impersonating Yang Dingtian, didn't wait for the great beauty Ling Wu. Instead, he waited for the dozens of warships of the Inferno Island. Immediately, as if he had heard the biggest joke in the world, he laughed loudly and said, "Did I hear wrongly? The people of the Inferno Island actually want to start a war with me? They want to have a decisive battle with me with dozens of broken ships and hundreds of weaklings who haven't even held a weapon before. Moreover, they want to have a decisive battle on the sea? Ha 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 ha." Immediately, everyone in the hall burst into laughter. This was indeed the funniest joke they had ever heard. Qin Huaiju suddenly stood up and said loudly, "Since you don't want to do this the hard way, all brothers board the ships. After killing all of these weaklings, we will directly charge towards the Inferno Island. Kill them all, burn them all, and plunder them all." After he finished speaking, Qin Huaiju's sharp sword suddenly slashed at a beautiful woman beside him. He wanted to chop off her beautiful head and use it as a sacrifice. An hour later, more than 100 pirate warships formed a formidable and neat formation and charged out of the Black Blood Island's dock with incomparable ferocity. More than half an hour later, the two armies met. The distance between them was less than 10 miles. The difference between the battle array of both sides was like heaven and earth. On the pirates' side, there were more than 100 ships and thousands of pirate warriors. On the Inferno Island's side, there were merely 30 ships and less than 500 people. On the pirates' side, their battle array was formidable, and their ships were sturdy and sharp. On the Inferno Island's side, their battle array was scattered. There were all kinds of ships and even fishing boats. Seeing this, Qin Huaiju once again burst into laughter and said, "Crazy, the people of the Inferno Island have all gone crazy." Then he abruptly ordered, "Charge over there and kill everyone." Immediately, more than 100 pirate warships increased their speed and charged towards the dozens of ships of the Inferno Island with incomparable ferocity. The pirate ships were getting closer and closer, and so was Yu Lao. One could even see their ferocious faces and their terrifying bows and arrows. Other than the brothers of the Black Blood Cavalry, all the warriors on the Inferno Island began to tremble in fear. In this battle, the disparity in strength between both sides was too great. No matter how one looked at it, the Inferno Island side would definitely lose and die. The pirate ships were getting closer and closer. 5 miles, 3 miles, 2 miles. The expressions on the pirates' faces became more and more ferocious and excited. Very soon, they would be able to start a massacre. As long as they got closer, the people on the Inferno Island ships would be like lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Even though they had already seen that each ship of the Inferno Island had a strange wooden frame that was about 3 to 4 meters tall, they didn't care about it at all. Even if it was a giant crossbow, they wouldn't be afraid, let alone this kind of wooden frame. Wooden frames couldn't possibly be used to kill people. When there were still 500 meters left, Yang Dingtian suddenly shouted loudly, "Release!" Following Yang Dingtian's command, the wooden frames on the dozens of ships suddenly shot out, throwing out dozens of silk packages and oiled paper bundles. There was also a string of sparks burning continuously. Each bundle was about a dozen kilograms in weight. Looking at the silk bundles that were getting closer and closer, the pirates immediately burst into laughter and said, "The people of the Inferno Island actually used cloth bundles to throw at us. I have never seen anything more fun than this, haha." Immediately, all the pirates burst into laughter. A portion of the dozens of silk bundles fell into the sea. However, because the pirates' ships were too secretive, even though the trebuchets that Yang Dingtian made were only average, there were still dozens of them that fell into the middle of the ships. Boom! 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 Suddenly, these 10 or so silk bags let out a loud noise, and then flames soared into the sky, followed by an earth-shattering explosion. On the surface of the sea, there seemed to be countless loud thunderclaps. Countless huge and terrifying flames were blooming. Suddenly, everything in the dozens of meters around the flames was smashed into pieces. Countless pirates were smashed into pieces. Blood spurted out and severed limbs flew everywhere. More than a dozen ships were directly blown into pieces. Even the ships that were slightly further away from the explosion were suddenly overturned by the powerful waves. All of a sudden, everyone was stunned. Not only were the pirates stunned, but even the people of the Inferno Island were stunned. The brothers of the Black Blood Cavalry were also stunned. All of them looked at Yang Dingtian in disbelief. Although they obeyed Yang Dingtian's order, it was because Yang Dingtian had done them a great favor. In their hearts, they didn't dare to have too much hope for Yang Dingtian's secret weapon. After all, it was just a pile of soil and some wooden frames inside the silk bundles. Never did they expect that these two seemingly unremarkable things would have such astonishing power. Chapter 187. In an instant, their gazes towards Yang Dingtian were filled with reverence. They were completely shocked like a celestial being. Of course, what Yang Dingtian was making was gunpowder. Charcoal was everywhere. As for saltpeter, it was called white flint in this world. It was much more powerful than the saltpeter on Earth. As for sulfur, it could be replaced by sulfur crystals in this world. It was much more powerful than sulfur. Therefore, the gunpowder made in this way was several times more powerful than the gunpowder on Earth. Every silk bag contained 10 to 20 kilograms of gunpowder. Of course, its power was incomparably shocking. In order to avoid self-injury, Yang Dingtian had split up the Fire Island's fleet very quickly. Otherwise, if a bag of gunpowder were to explode in the fleet, the consequences would be too serious. Of course, for the sake of secrecy, Yang Dingtian had Ling Wu personally prepare dozens of things. However, only 3 of them were used. In the end, the preparation of gunpowder was completed by Yang Dingtian alone. In the end, wrapping the gunpowder in silk and oil paper was completed with the help of the brothers of the Black Blood Cavalry. Qin Huaijiu, who was at the back, was completely stunned when he saw all of this. He had never expected such an outcome. Merely a dozen large cloth bags had actually caused him to lose over 20 ships and a few hundred pirates. Moreover, the other pirates were so frightened that their faces had turned ashen. There were even some who were kneeling on the ship and kowtowing with all their might, because they thought that everything that had happened earlier was caused by the god of thunder. Don't tell me that I have to retreat just like this? Qin Huaiju said inwardly. No, I'm definitely not resigned to this. From an illegitimate child who was bullied by everyone, to the current overlord of a region, I absolutely cannot admit defeat. After that he suddenly roared, charge over, charge over. It's only 2 miles away. If we charge over, they'll be dead for sure. They only have a dozen of those heavenly thunders. They've already used them up. Following his command, those little pirate leaders who weren't afraid of death immediately drove their ships with all their might and charged towards the Fire Island's fleet. All of the pirate ships rushed over. This Qin Huaiju had a frightening gambling nature. Yang Dingtian smiled coldly and said, I was just afraid that you wouldn't charge over. Release, Yang Dingtian ordered. Instantly, dozens of silk explosives were thrown out by the trebuchet. Boom, boom, boom. Another earth-shattering explosion. Countless pirates were torn to shreds, and more than a dozen ships were torn apart. Release! 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 Following Yang Dingtian's orders, wave after wave of explosives were thrown out. Countless earth-shattering explosions. Countless sparks burst forth. More than 100 pirate ships were almost all destroyed in the short 2 to 3 li of their journey. Only 3 or 4 ships broke into the fleet of the Fire Island, but it was only a coincidence. The pirates on the ships were so scared that their bodies were broken, and they were peeing and shitting. Before they could get close to the ships, more than 100 brothers of the Black Blood Cavalry rushed forward impatiently and slaughtered the pirates on the ships. Half an hour later, all the pirates were wiped out. 5 kilometers away, there was only one pirate ship left. It was Qin Huaiju's flagship. When the ships were destroyed in the sea and countless of his subordinates were torn to shreds, he felt as though he was struck by lightning. At first he felt that his heart was bleeding, but later on, it was so painful that he was numb. This was his foundation. In the northwest Qin city he was nothing. Even Qin Huayu's servants didn't look him in the eye. Over there, he was living like a dog. Later on, when Qin Huayu proposed to impersonate the Black Blood Cavalry, to ruin Yang Dingtian's reputation, no one in the northwest Qin city was willing to accept this mission. This was because this was a dirty job. Moreover, it was a dirty job that couldn't be reversed. It was a dirty job that could be sacrificed at any time. However, Qin Huaiju accepted it, and then took over a group of people from the northwest Qin city, who were angered and frustrated. He formed a team of a few hundred people. After more than half a year of discovery, the team grew bigger and bigger, until it reached a few thousand people. Here, he felt the taste of being a new man. Then it rose to the taste of being an emperor. He was the emperor of the surrounding 1,000 kilometers of sea region. He could kill whoever he wanted. He could sleep with whoever he wanted. In the past half a year, he really didn't know how many people he had killed, and how many women he had harmed. He was crazy with jealousy towards Yang Dingtian, because he was just an idler. However, he could become Dongfang Minmi's disciple, and Shimin Wuya's son-in-law. Most importantly, he actually had Shimin Yinyan. He had seen Yinyan Shimin, and was completely shocked. However, he didn't even dare to dream of having Shimin Yinyan. He had many women, but all of them added together couldn't even compare to a single finger of Shimin Yinyan. However, Yang Dingtian could have Shimin Yinyan completely. Why? Therefore, when he pretended to be Yang Dingtian, and did evil, he had a special feeling of satisfaction in his heart. Of course, he was also a little grateful towards Yang Dingtian, because Yang Dingtian had turned Qin Xiaobai into a cripple. He was only jealous of Yang Dingtian. However, he had a bone-deep hatred towards Qin Xiaobai. In the northwest Qin city, Qin Xiaobai was second only to Qin Huayu's favorite. Usually, when Qin Huayu met Qin Huaiju, he would still be polite. However, when Qin Xiaobai met him, he would completely treat him like a pig or a dog. But now, He was filled with endless hatred towards the person who had destroyed everything in front of him. It even surpassed the hatred he felt towards Qin Xiaobai. He didn't know who that person was, but he knew that he definitely wasn't someone from Fire Island. If Fire Island had such a talent, it wouldn't be in such a state of decline. Endless hatred devoured his heart, and endless flames burned wildly. Who is it? Who is it that destroyed the foundation of Qin Huaijiu? I will tear you into pieces, he suddenly roared. In his extreme madness and anger, he even forgot to pretend to be Yang Dingtian. Then, he crazily gave the order, and the large ship charged towards Fire Island's fleet. In the beginning, the sailors who were already scared out of their wits didn't dare to charge over. Wasn't that seeking death? Qin Huaiji was instantly enraged. He raised his sword and started a massacre on his own ship. In an instant, hundreds of people died under his sword. The remaining people all jumped into the sea to escape. In an instant, Qin Huaiji was the only one left on the large ship. The entire ship was spinning on the sea. Qin Huaiji had a special characteristic. He was afraid of water. That's right. Even though he was a martial profound realm expert, he was still afraid of water. This was because when he was 5 years old, his mother brought him to see his biological father for the first time, who was also the Northwest Qin city's ruler. He didn't receive any love. The Qin city's ruler directly threw him into the pool to drown him. This was because his mother was a woman who couldn't be seen. Of course, he didn't die in the end. He was saved by the Qin city's ruler's first wife. However, the hellish pain in the water, and watching his mother being thrown down from a building to her death, made him afraid of water. He didn't even dare to enter a bathtub. He was so afraid of water. However, he still accepted the mission of pretending to be Yang Dingtian and becoming the pirate leader. However, he spent all his time in the base and never went out to sea personally. Today they had a great battle with Fire Island. Moreover, he thought that it would be a completely one-sided massacre. That was why he went out to sea in high spirits. However, he didn't expect to encounter such an ending. At this moment, he was the only one left on the large ship. He couldn't sail the ship alone. In an instant, he was trapped on the ship alone, and could only roar with all his might. When Yang Dingtian saw this, he smiled coldly and said, "Surround him." In an instant, dozens of ships charged towards Qin Huaijiu's ship, and surrounded it in a semicircle. "Release," Yang Dingtian suddenly gave the order. In an instant, all the catapults on the ships were activated, and threw dozens of packs of explosives over like raindrops. In an instant, that spinning ship was completely surrounded by dozens of packs of explosives. Boom! 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 A series of earth-shattering explosions and endless flames on the surface of the sea. The giant ship was instantly torn into pieces like a toy. Countless pieces flew into the sky. Release! 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 Although that large ship was completely engulfed by the flames, and was completely smashed into pieces, Yang Dingtian still gave the order to keep throwing the packs of explosives. Because there were still a lot of packs of explosives that hadn't been used up. This kind of destructive weapon couldn't be left behind. Therefore, the catapults were tirelessly throwing. The sea around that large ship was still raging with flames. It was earth-shattering. After exploding for more than 10 minutes, only then did Yang Dingtian give the order to stop. He left behind dozens of packs of explosives for him to personally look after in case he needed to use them during the attack on Black Blood Island. At this time, no trace of the large ship could be seen on the surface of the sea. The surface of the sea was filled with wood fragments. It was a complete mess. As for Qin Huaijiu, he had completely disappeared. Hooray! Suddenly, everyone cheered wildly. They won. Before this, they didn't even think that they would win. However, they didn't expect that not only did they win, but they also won so easily. There were almost no casualties. Bang! At this time, a ship in front of them suddenly exploded. It was the entire ship that exploded fiercely. The warriors on the ship flew straight into the sky with blood splattering everywhere. Then, a figure covered in blood suddenly shot into the sky from the water. With a sharp sword in hand, he rushed into the fleet like lightning and crazily massacred. It was Qin Huaijiu. When the explosives exploded, he finally overcame his fear of the sea. He jumped into the sea and drilled into the bottom of the sea to avoid the damage of the flames. The moment he jumped into the sea, he thought that he was going to die, because even in the bathtub, he felt that he was going to suffocate. However, he didn't expect that the moment he jumped into the sea, his fear of the water would disappear without a trace. Instead, it was replaced by endless flames that soared into the sky. Then, under the water, he rushed towards the blazing flame fleet. He wanted to rely on himself to kill all the enemies. Then, he wanted to rely on himself to make a comeback and lay a bigger foundation. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.